You're tuned to The Drive on your 24/7 home of the Black and Gold. Steelers Nation Radio.
Wes Uhler, Matt Williamson with you here on a Monday. As things are happening quickly, Matt, woke up today. It's October 20th on the calendar already.
Yeah, it's funny you went down that road.
Kind of nuts. Too, I already started compiling some stuff. We're going to do a beefy around campus segment this week on Wednesday.
Definitely.
Started compiling stuff this morning, and I'm like, there's 5 games left in the college football season. There's 5 weeks left in the college football regular season. Like, this is all happening pretty quickly here.
It really is. It's funny because I thought the same thing as I walked in, because I actually kind of thought of Dale. Dale and I used to talk a lot about that walk in this parking lot from the car to the front door. Felt the first time like, ooh, it gave me one of those for the first time.
Like
it. The autumn wind is a raider.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Blistering across the South Hills of Pittsburgh.
Yeah, I'm still short sleeve shirt and shorts on. Like, it's pretty warm out. We have a window open at home, but I'm like, ooh, it's right around the corner, though. When I walk out of here tonight, it might be a little chillier.
It sure is. It sure is. It is that time. With it, all the good that comes with it, some of the negative, the weather and the darkness and those things as well, too. But what that obviously means
a lot with football world, too.
Means a ton in the football world. We're not quite at the halfway point, but we're pretty stinking close here of the NFL regular season. And, of course, we've got plenty to get into on what was a crazy, eventful Sunday.
Yes.
And that was just at Mile High Stadium in Denver.
33 points by one team in the fourth quarter.
We will go around the league and recap. 33 points by one team in the fourth quarter. Hands up if you've seen that before. Plenty that happened across the league, across the AFC North, all these different things on Sunday. But we start today, Matt, with it'll be a little bit of a different week this week. Since we're not, just doing our typical kind of hour downloading everything that happened in the Steelers game on Sunday. Sure. We're going to bump up.
Like Wednesday on will be normal, but Monday, Tuesday is a little, free time.
Little different. Like open period study hall almost, if you will, here. And with that, typically on Tuesdays, we do a thing called Tuesday Rewind, where it's just additional thoughts that you and I have when we have time to go back and watch the game. Friday, right? We're in here late night Thursday, back Friday. We give...
I hadn't watched the All-22 at that point.
Right, and, that initial download of all of our thoughts on the game, but now we've had time to rewatch it, to rethink it, to dissect it. I've got two observations for you on each side of the ball.
Okay.
So for my kind of Monday rewind, 2 offensive thoughts, 2 defensive thoughts.
I bet the offensive ones are good and the defensive ones might not be.
Yeah, I would say one of the offensive ones is very good. The second is encouraging.
Okay.
You want to start there?
Let's keep everyone
start with some sunshine
cheery,
and rainbows here on
the
this
offense was
Monday
pretty good.
afternoon. And let's start with I think one of the biggest takeaways of that game, if you're looking from a positivity or a glass half full standpoint, I thought Jaylen Warren played really well.
That would be on my list, too.
Breaking tackles, running hard. He's fast. He's twitchy. He's tough to bring down. He's very good in pass protection as well, too.
Highly accomplished receiver. But he was phenomenal.
I thought he was, going back and rewatching it, I thought Jaylen Warren was exceptional. I thought he played really well.
So before we get too far into the sunshine and rainbow things, Bengals defense is really bad. So I think all of our listeners know that. We said that going in. Watching this game, I don't think all of a sudden, their defense is fine. No, it's bad. But they're also professionals, and Jaylen wasn't great because they stunk. You know what I mean? And I think that a lot of that's true for when the Steelers had the ball. Freiermuth, Rodgers, O-line, wherever we want to talk about. But yeah, I'm glad you started with him because just his individual effort and achievement that night was really, really strong. Really strong. And
if you play the 7 or 8 minute just Jaylen Warren cut up of that game, you're like, that guy looked like one of the best running backs in the league.
Exactly. He looks like the top guys and had one of the best games of any running back in the league. One of mine would be to kind of piggyback off that, which I also think is encouraging and a little overdue, but we've seen more and more of it really since the Anderson edition, 74 is eligible. The run game's also getting a lot more diverse.
Okay.
You know, I mean, they're running a wider variety of plays with a
It's
wider.
not just the outside zone run that we have been talking about at the beginning.
I
of the
think
season.
that was part of the problem early on, is it was predictable, and that's a hard run in itself. Because if anyone's wrong, you're wrong. You know, I mean, it's everyone has to work in unison, and there's a lot of communication and a lot of continuity needed, and it takes a long time for it to get going. And once it does, it's beautiful. But in the meantime, partially by inserting Anderson, you know, you're having a variety of runs, and I think Warren runs them all really, really well too. You know.
Yes, he does.
Yeah.
And he's a good receiving back.
Yeah,
he is, I think, a great pass protection back, especially compared to that's an area that it feels like is down across the board across the NFL.
Protection.
Running backs and pass protection.
Yeah.
He's got to be on the short list of the best doing that right now in the National Football League. So that was kind
Real
of
quick,
my
I want to run something
my
by you
first
because of
takeaway.
your college background. I don't know that we've had this conversation, but like this rookie running back class.
I think I know where you're going.
Okay, we
with
might
this.
have even talked to it way back in draft time.
Maybe like at the combine when you and Dale and Moats and I would do like crossover hours and stuff.
And Caleb Johnson's a great example because the Steelers drafted one of these backs, but it was considered, and I didn't disagree at the time, a great running back class. You know, there was a lot of them drafted, a lot drafted pretty high. You got guys with like third, second round grades in the fourth, fifth round because of the depth of it. Had some star power at the top with Genty. But really, almost all those guys, their scouting report coming out was big questions about protection. And weirdly, one of the only guys that really checked that box was Travion Henderson, and he's really struggled since he's gotten the league in protection. So nobody's really excelled in protection. I haven't studied every one of them every snap, but this rookie class. And I'm wondering, with your college background, do you think that could be a trend? You know, like, because these coaches can't coach, you know, Saban can't grind it into him, or he's going to transfer, you know? Or they're getting paid.
1,000%.
Okay. So this is going to keep coming.
This is going for a lot of the reasons that you just mentioned. Plus, I think just across the board, college football teams are going more and more like there was the spread era of the turn of the 21st century, right? Everything in football is cyclical and it comes back around.
Mm-hmm.
I think we saw that to an extent a few years ago, but I think now there's this weird where it went from spread kind of back to pro style, and now it's not going back to spread in college football, but it is much more everybody has a stud quarterback.
Okay.
With the transfer portal, most of these, the
it has to be changing things at such a rapid rate.
The money. The 60 some Power 4 college football program. So I think there's 68 or 69 programs in the SEC, the Big 10, the ACC, and the Big 12. The 4 power conferences. There's like 68 or 69 programs. There's no excuse for them to be dreadful at quarterback now. Maybe if you are for a year, okay, you missed on some evaluations, whatever. But then go get JMU's quarterback. Go get Kent State's quarterback. You know, go get UTEP's quarterback.
Because someone in that division, every division has a best guy.
Exactly right.
Still Duquesne. Whatever.
Go get Ohio's quarterback. Not Ohio State, Ohio U. Parker Navarro. He's actually very good. Carved up my Mountaineers back in September.
Super quick, and this was true when I recruited. Finding quarterbacks in the recruiting world isn't nearly as hard as like defensive tackles. I mean, there's a lot of people walking the planet that look like a quarterback. There's not many people that are 6'5", 300
especially at the collegiate level, where now these guys rely on their legs.
Yeah.
That's one thing that has really mirrored the pros. It used to be the pro-style college football quarterbacks, right? The Andrew Lucks.
Mm-hmm.
And then the spread-style college football quarterbacks, the Marcus Mariotas.
Okay.
Now that's kind of blending of those skill sets.
We want all of it.
We want all of it.
Because we can get it.
Exactly right. Even guys like Fernando Mendoza, who we talk about all the time, that's more of a traditional, he'll still pull it down and take the 8 or 9 yards that
Nobody
you give him.
Nobody can be a stiff.
No one can be a stiff anymore. I think part of that with the mobility quarterback element has played into this as well. So I think you're spot on. It reminds me, Matt, it really started back when the Steelers drafted Jalen Samuels. You remember him out of NC State? And I remember a lot of things there.
Do-it-all guy,
Do-it-all guy at NC State. But I remember when he got drafted, and we do this, I'm sure the listeners who have listened for a long time know this. we do our draft coverage from down on the south side at the Steelers facility.
Right.
And it's kind of like the Steelers take a running back. 10 minutes later, here comes Eddie Faulkner to sit down with us for 10 minutes and talk about what they liked in that running back.
They go to the podium and then they come
Here's what we liked about Caleb
yeah.
Johnson. You know what I mean? Here's why we drafted him. Here's how he fits our offense. And then a lot of times what's cool is the next day when those guys fly into Pittsburgh, they'll sit down with,
Right.
Steelers draft Joey Porter Jr.
He drove in
that
a couple
day
minutes ago.
He's up 20 minutes in Wexford, but we get to sit down with these guys for a few minutes too. I'll never forget Jalen Samuels sat down with us. And I mean, I don't even remember if I was on air, you and Dale, whatever the case may be.
Yeah,
this was
I know I was on.
You're on the whole time.
That I'm sure of.
You're like the best. You're like the best player, Jake, on my beer league hockey team. He doesn't leave the ice for our 60-minute game. That's you during the draft. Jalen Samuels sits down and he said something along the lines to us. We said you played a lot of running back, H-back, some tight end.
Yeah, he
stuff.
actually did tight end drills at the combine. Yeah,
and he mentioned I never once passed pro at NC State.
I remember that now.
Never once.
Yeah, never once.
They asked me to pass protect.
He was one of their best pass catchers.
He was one of the best pass catcher running backs.
And he was versatile, and he's a big back.
Versatile,
kind
fast.
of a fullback. Right.
He said, I never did pass pro at NC State.
Yeah.
And I remember all of us kind of being like,
uh-oh.
That's something. Backs on backers is going to be interesting with this
guy.
A couple months from now when we get to Latrobe.
I'm going to rewind one second real quick, too.
Yeah.
You were talking about how everyone is quarterbacks now, and I hadn't thought about that from the college level. Because you can go pluck them from a college less than you.
Look at Pitt here. I mean, Pitt's had like 5 different quarterbacks in the last 6 years starting.
Yeah. Maybe they actually have one now.
Phil Jerkovic doesn't work. Get him out of here.
Right.
Eli Holstein doesn't work. Get him out of here.
But not only can you pluck them from lesser programs than you, but I'm watching that game last night, the Niner game, and they show a picture of in Bama colors smoking cigars. It must have been after the Tennessee game.
That's the tradition. When those two teams play, the winning team gets cigars.
And Mac. And it's like, not all three would ever still be there.
No chance.
I mean, no chance.
No chance.
That one of them will go down a level or go to Auburn.
Or they might go down a level for a year, kill it, and then wind up at Florida State.
Right.
Yeah.
There's no way the three of them are sitting there waiting for each other either.
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. I think the only place that still gets away with that is the wide receiver room at Ohio State manages to stay loaded because they just have such a reputation.
All you got to do is start 1 year.
All you got to do is start 1 year and you're a first-round pick. But
you used to recruit. Right?
Other than that, it's even more difficult for Alabamas and Georgias of the world to build depth because, you might pay me a little bit more than this ACC or Big 12 school, but I don't care. I want to go start. I want to go play.
Quarterback in my second year.
Exactly right.
Maybe a true freshman lives with that, but right.
So when Jalen Samuels was coming to Pittsburgh, Matt, it was kind of an eyebrow raiser. This guy's never pass pro'd, but it also made a little bit of sense at the time. You had Ben Roethlisberger still. That was the year coming up that he had the major elbow surgery.
Okay.
But he was coming off a 5,000-yard passing season where him and AB and Juju lit it up.
He was older, but there was no reason to worry about.
Just had one of the top 5 seasons of his career. Okay, AB was gone. You traded him to the Raiders that offseason. But everybody was crazy high on Juju. Had over 1,000 yards his rookie season at that point. James Conner was coming off of his first real crack at it where he made the Pro Bowl, filling in for Lev Bell, who sat out that entire year.
Young skill guys.
So it was like, okay, they just drafted a running back who never passed pros, but James Conner's not afraid to stick his face in the fan.
No.
They got Juju. They got some other young pieces. They're going to still throw the football like crazy. It made some sense in that context. Now, I think that is not to that extent where a guy's going to sit down with us and be like, I never did any pass pro. But you reference Caleb Johnson. He did very little of it in his time at Iowa.
They never threw, and they probably wanted him flaring out because he's one of the best guys with the ball in his hands. Right.
Exactly right.
But you mentioned Ohio State receivers. Well, those two backs pass pro'd because they didn't need them.
Exactly.
We don't need you guys to catch passes.
We're going to throw to Emeka Ibuka and Jeremiah Smith and all these.
We get 5-star tight ends, I'm sure, that we never throw to anyway.
Exactly right. Exactly right. So there is, again, it's cyclical at every level. And that is, I think you are spot on. That is a real thing in college football right now.
So we should get used to bad protectors coming in the league, I think.
I mean,
that's going to be at least a short-term trend.
I think so.
Totally adds up.
Or just maybe not even bad, but just guys who are
Haven't
very little experience, very little spin in that regard.
Totally adds up.
But that's why I think the value, to kind of get back to where we started, the value of Jaylen Warren is immense, and it was on display Thursday night.
Yeah, and I've been calling for I pat myself in the back here. Pretty much for 6 months, I'd been saying I would extend this guy, and I haven't heard many other analysts even mentioning that. I'm like, I'm not big on giving running back second contracts. It usually doesn't work out great, but his situation was very unique. You got him at somewhat of a discount because he hasn't made a ton of money. But if he were to hit the open market after the season, how he's playing and how he's played really every step of his career, he would make way more than he does now.
Absolutely.
Way more. I mean,
I think he'd make way more than Najee got on the open market.
Yeah. Not even close.
Not even close.
Right. I'm not saying to make Saquon money, but he'd make a lot.
Absolutely.
There'd be 4 teams competing for him. You know?
Absolutely. I think you are spot on there. And again, I think his value has been on display all season, but especially Thursday night.
He was phenomenal.
He was great. He was outstanding. Let's take a break here. It
was also the healthiest and the most action he's gotten.
I think a lot of things. And again, against it's still an NFL defense. It's not Ohio State against Akron, but it is an encouraging
those guys.
Encouraging. He did exactly what you wanted to see him do on Thursday night. Roman Wilson, nice to see you.
Yeah.
I mean, he was clearly wide receiver number 2. And
that's my biggest takeaway. They trusted him to be the 2.
Scotty Miller's snap count was way down, single digits, I believe.
I think Skoranek was at like 2 as well.
Single digits as well, whereas Roman Wilson was like 33, 34.
It was a big jump. Like Metcalf only missed 1 snap, and they didn't play a ton of 2 receiver. They didn't play much for 2 receiver sets. But if there was a second receiver out there,
played
it was
a lot.
Almost always Wilson.
All the tight ends played a lot. They attacked.
Anderson.
They attacked with those guys. I know you had some really good middle of the field stats from the offense, but it was noticeable. Roman Wilson was out there, and Matt, not just in we trust you in run blocking, and we think you're pretty good in that department. I mean, he was running routes as well too. 30-some snaps, and I think like 18 or 19 routes ran, I want to say. Felt like it was a encouraging step in the right direction. Again, can he be a regular part of this offense? How much can he contribute? All those things remain to be seen.
Yeah.
But you need to at least have that level of getting out on the field and that trust factor, and you need to get some spin out there to get to a point that we are all hopeful that he can get to, and I thought that was a step in the right direction.
Yes. Now, a couple things, not all of them are going to be positive. I think that it's a step in the right direction that they don't look at him as only a slot as a third receiver. He lined up often outside the numbers in 2 receiver sets because there was hardly ever 3 receiver sets because they played so much tight end stuff, and we mentioned the other receivers not getting a lot. And he made some catches, he made some plays, some in-breaking routes. He looked the part as a pass catcher and a route runner. So again, these are all positives. My concern isn't with him, and the wide receiver trade talk's going to keep heating up.
No doubt.
That's the way.
As it probably should.
As it should, and I got no problem with that. We could do a whole segment on it at some point. Whatever.
And then you get Calvin Austin back, you start to feel really good about that.
Yeah. But I wonder, are they sitting there? Internally, are they going, man, we really need to trade for a receiver because everything we try isn't good enough, including Roman. You know what I mean?
Sure.
Like we put Miller out there a bunch, and it didn't really change the game much. Putting Wilson out there, at least we'll give him a crack. Like, are they taking? Is Wilson getting a chance by default rather than, he's clearly the best guy?
I think that's a fair question to ask.
And that's, I don't think we know the answer. They'll never tell us. Yeah, right.
And maybe it's a little bit of both at this time.
Yeah, and maybe that was step 1 towards, I am better than the other guys,
Or maybe it was step 1 towards them all looking at each other in a meeting room and going, all right, we got to get aggressive in the trade market.
We have to trade somebody, right?
Yeah. I think it's certainly one of those, like, you come into a Y in the road. You know what I mean? You go left and you live with what you got, or you go, door number 2 and you go out and you bring somebody in.
If they trade for Rashid Shaheed tomorrow, I think we'll know the answer.
Exactly right. Kobe Myers is a Steeler this week, right? I think we'll get a pretty, and I think either way we'll get that answer.
Right.
Might be sooner rather than later. We might have to wait another week or 2, but I do think
and I don't know if Austin's due back Sunday or not, but he can't be too far off. They didn't put him on IR.
I was going to say, didn't put him on IR, so I would agree with you.
Week,
Look and see if he gets maybe they active. Well, I guess never mind. They wouldn't have to activate him. That would be if he was coming off of IR, but we'll see what his usage looks like here as we get a little bit into this week.
But that's a good one. I mean, I think that's definitely a positive for him, and you probably get a million tweets of Roman Wilson a bust. Why is he never out there? I'm like, well, he was out there this time.
He was. And again, that doesn't mean that they're satisfied, any of that stuff, but you at least needed to see the step in this direction, I think, to really start to be able to make that decision, make that judgment. All right, Matt. So those are the two offensive ones, and both the Jaylen Warren certainly, and that Roman Wilson too, I would say, on the more positive side of things. Let's flip to the defense and a little bit more the negative side of things here.
So I'm going to use this example super quick because I just recorded Peacock and Williamson, our national podcast. And as you would guess, my co-host Peacock, he's on the West Coast.
Niners guy, right?
Niners guy. He watches every game like we do. But the Thursday nighter, he had something family related. He only watched like the first quarter. And he immediately asked me today because we couldn't record a show Friday. So it's the first time we've broken down Steelers Bengals.
Gotcha.
And he opens it up by, Matt, I only watched the first quarter, and I thought this game was going to be 52-0 the Steelers. He's like, how can a team on both sides of the ball dominate the trenches the way they did? And remember, he only saw the first quarter and still lose this game. I'm like, the clock struck midnight when the second quarter showed up, or something, or a potion fell on the stadium or something. I don't know what happened. But as soon as the second quarter showed up,
into a pumpkin.
It was like all of a sudden the whole defense was tired on a short week and didn't want to be there and just got pushed around. Like, it was from that. It's weird that you only watched the first quarter because that's when everything changed.
If you only watched the first quarter, you would have thought
this team's awesome.
You would have thought the Steelers are going to win this game like they did against Cleveland,
right,
23-9 or 30-13, something like that.
He started with like the D lines just whipping them. I'm like, yeah.
But if you only watched the second quarter, you probably thought the Steelers lost 50-10.
Yeah.
I mean, certainly a tale of two quarters there. And so, let's get into some of this not so great. Let's talk bigger picture first. It just continues to be obvious, whether you look at the time of possession, whether you look at the snap counts, that this defense is on the field too much.
The time of possession is getting worse.
That doesn't excuse their performance.
No.
But there is some rhyme.
It's going to be a huge problem.
There's some rhyme to that reason. Matt, why is that, and how do they get that moving in the right direction?
I know.
It was like 20 snaps more for the defense than the offense. Again, this is something
over and over. Even when they're winning and on winning streaks. And
I mean, basically,
they're at like 26 minutes of time possession for the year.
It got skewed a little bit at the end of that Browns game. So
there's some weird stuff.
I'll give them that.
Yeah.
Because for 80-85% of that Browns game, the time of possession and the snap counts were well in your favor. And then it skewed a little bit at the end.
Yeah.
But other than that, Matt, this is like something that we've been talking about.
Season-long problem.
Every week.
Yeah, every week.
Even when they're winning, even when they were sitting at 4-1, this was still something that felt like it could bite you at some point. Your defense can't be playing 20 more snaps than your offense every week.
And we always talk about, like when you go to the doctor, like, I got this rash. Well, what have you been eating? What have you try different dryer sheets or whatever, But it's on both sides of the ball. I mean, they haven't run the ball well enough and getting enough first downs and eat clock. Because one thing about Rodgers' career, and it still holds true with the Steelers, is he helps time of possession more than a lot of quarterbacks.
He takes his time.
Because he takes his time. He comes to the line of scrimmage, clock's ticking. He's going to survey things. Yes, he can play hurry up like any great quarterback, but more often than not, he eats a lot of clock.
He wants to see what the defense is trying to do.
That's just his style.
Make them show their, play chicken and be the last one to blink.
Yeah. But a big thing with the defense, though, they're just giving up too much yards. I mean, they flat out are. Like a lot of their per drive stats are poor. I mean, especially like yards per drive. And they probably got a lot worse. These are things I do Tuesday after every team played. And I'm sure they got worse. But they're not too reliant because they're great at it. But the good things are the splash things, the takeaways, the sacks, the batted passes, the forced fumbles, and they're tremendous at it. But when you didn't get them, you see that, man, you guys are on the field a lot, and on a down-by-down basis, you're not playing well enough. I mean, it's kind of more so than I blame the offense. At least the offense started running the ball and, kind of did their share. But play by play, it's like, man, you're still allowing this team to get first downs.
Yes, way too many missed tackles in this game. We had talked about how against Minnesota and Cleveland, it felt like that was moving in the right direction.
Much better, right?
Much better. After a rocky start, that reared its ugly head again on Thursday night, certainly.
And it's such an avalanche too, because if you're bad at that and you don't get better, well, you're gonna be on the field even more, and then you're gonna be on the field even more, and then you get more tired, and then you're gonna miss an extra tackle. And I'm not excusing it, but you see it a lot on the road on a Thursday night. So if that's only one, I wouldn't be super critical of it. Like, all right, okay, but it's been a theme.
It certainly has, and not a good theme.
No.
A discouraging one, in fact. And with that, Matt, one thing that confused me, and I have not been the first person to raise this point in the last few days since that game on Thursday night, but when you go back and watch it, it really stands out. You, I know, mentioned this even on Friday before we had a chance to do our rewind, our rewatch here. There was a lot of wailing and moaning and gnashing of teeth and pulling hair out about Jamar Chase and T. Higgins.
Yeah.
And why didn't they try something different? And you kind of pointed out they did. I mean, they lined up different guys on them. They tried different
Everybody
coverages.
Got beat by them.
Everybody got beat. It wasn't just Ramsey. It wasn't just Slay.
Right,
it wasn't just Eccles. It wasn't just Deshaun Elliott,
Sometimes Michael Jordan gets his against no matter who guards him.
Sometimes
I felt like Chase was Michael Jordan.
Sometimes you could play the perfect, neutral zone trap, and Lemieux will still have a hat trick.
Yeah.
But one thing that it felt like, and this correlates with how quickly Joe Flacco was getting rid of the football.
I know we're going. I have the same complaint.
And again, I'm not Neil Armstrong landing on the moon here. A lot of people have been talking about this the last couple days. But when your pass rush is struggling to get home and the quarterback is getting rid of the ball so early, why don't you get up on someone's face, get in someone's grill, some press man coverage, get your hands on these guys, and make Joe Flacco have to tap the ball for an extra half second?
There's many different ways to play man coverage. There's many different ways.
I think that's a misnomer.
Right.
You could play man coverage but still be off the ball.
Oh, yeah, right. I mean, you can play press, you can play mirror match, you can play off, and it's still my guy. It's man coverage. So I saw a lot of man coverage, but I hardly saw any press man coverage.
That was the confusing part to
which
me.
I don't care at all if the game starts that way. Oh, I didn't think they would be getting out there, getting it out of his hands in 2.4 seconds, which is Aaron Rodgers fast, But when that's the theme and they're just ripping you apart, like some of the Chase numbers, all the numbers are awesome, obviously. I mean, it's fantasy stats and his catches and targets and all that.
It'll be one of the best performances a wide receiver has all season.
He was phenomenal.
Yeah.
But his average depth of target was really short, and it wasn't like they had a hard time tackling him. I mean, it wasn't great, but they weren't like he hit it like the Metcalf Minnesota game.
Yes.
I mean, that's not where the stats came from.
He didn't take a 6-yard reception and turn it into an 80-yard touchdown.
Yeah. I mean, it was
he also wasn't Randy Mossing people down the field.
Right. But it was like you were giving Jordan layups. Like you didn't even make Curry shoot from half court. You know what I mean? Like, yes, he's awesome and he's going to take advantage of it.
And you're giving him an open jump shot from the corner.
And I referenced the podcast I did today. I didn't even hear this postgame. Maybe you did. But when they interviewed Flacco, he basically said, I don't know the playbook. I just threw it to the really good guy that was open all the time. Like we're playing in the backyard. Like I'm going to draft that kid first. He's the best kid at recess. And I'm going to throw it to him every time, and he happens to be open all the time. Like, I don't know the plays. We didn't even draw him up.
Yeah.
Like, that can't happen.
No, it cannot.
And to expand on it, I mean, it doesn't reflect well on coaching, clearly. But a lot of their runs, and I noticed this when I watched the All-22, but John Ledyard, who I've referenced, I think he does really good work.
Yep.
He
formerly of this parish.
Yeah. He broke down on YouTube, I think it was 8 of Brown's big runs. Okay. And they were like 9-yarders, 10-yarders, but every one of them on the breakdown he did was on purpose. Was Flacco came to the line and basically pointed at the B gap or the C gap or whatever and said, we're going to run there. And the Steelers didn't have anyone in the gap. Like I don't know if it was an alignment error. I don't know if it was coaching errors, but it happened more than once. Who cares? Someone lines up wrong or
it's going to happen
over
the course
blah,
of
blah, blah,
70-some
blah.
snaps.
And there were one or two of those where someone motioned and they're in the middle of talking and the ball gets snapped and you don't get your gap. That happens every game. Okay. But this was 5 to 8 alignment. There's no one in the B gap, and they don't see any linebackers that are getting ready to fill, and they didn't. And thank the Lord for Elliott. Elliott made every one of those plays. I mean, he comes 7, 8, 10 yards.
Or it's a 30, 40-yard run.
Right, and he smashes Brown and played tremendous against the run, but he's on the third level, I mean, or somewhere between the second and third level.
It's not the guy you want making the tackle, despite how good he is at it. That's not the guy you want making the tackle.
It was not his B gap, and they're just running, it's smart quarterbacking. Rodgers would have done the same thing. Like, we're going to adjust to run right at this bubble where there's nobody at, and there wasn't, it almost looked like there was no one assigned to it.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's very well said, and that is, again, like you said, fooled me once, okay. It's 70-some snaps a game. You're not going to be perfectly aligned and ready on every single one. Once or twice, all right. 5, 6, 7, 8 times, unacceptable, can't happen.
And again, I'm not making excuses, but it also looks like fatigue. You make more mental errors when you're on the and this
fatigue makes cowards of us all, right?
Absolutely.
That's the old saying.
And why was the first quarter good, and then all of a sudden the second quarter and on it wasn't? Nobody ran to the ball as much as they had the last couple games. They didn't tackle as well. They weren't as mentally sharp. They didn't play with the same energy. And I think that's twofold why. It's not Tomlin should run them after practice and run the steps and kill them, and no one's in good shape. They've been on the field too much this year already, and they played a short game on the road. Now, if I see it Sunday night after you have 10 days rest
completely
at home,
different story.
Sunday night, Rodgers versus the Packers, now I'm really going to – now it's like I'm waving a red flag.
It's like DEFCON 5 or whatever.
Yeah. But if you're seeing the same stuff or lack of fatigue looks like an issue unless it's, you're 80 plays in and late in the fourth quarter.
Exactly right.
Like Giants-Broncos.
Exactly right.
I mean, the league does that all the time. The dam just breaks and the defense can't keep up anymore. But this was too early for that. Way too early.
Way too early.
Way too early. All right.
We once again have Mike Tomlin and his weekly press conference on a Tuesday afternoon in its normal kind of time slot and time period. And with that, just some kind of Tomlin press conference news of the day to get us started.
Okay. I'll be 100% honest. I have not heard it yet, so I'm excited to hear what he had to say today.
I love it.
Injury stuff, all that good stuff.
Yep. I was down on the south side doing kind of the preview and the wrap-up show with Jerry Dulac. And here's some of the kind of key things to take, to deduce, to hit upon, to discuss. Namely, I mean, the biggest thing that I always want out of these press conferences is injury updates,
that's
right? I mean, that's the
most pressing for the upcoming week,
And sometimes a lot of the other stuff can just be coach speak,
True.
Mike Tomlin is far from the only person in the league that does that, but I think you're only going to get so much at press conferences. But one thing that these guys kind of have to be upfront and honest about is the injury reports. And Matt, I mean, for being 6 games into the season, for being at about the halfway point of the NFL regular season here, I think pretty optimistic in that regard for the Steelers. He said Calvin Austin will practice this week with that shoulder injury. He has, remember, didn't go on IR, but hasn't practiced yet.
So that sounds about right if you're going to be under 4 weeks.
And Mike Tomlin said, and I quote, "As I stand here today, I'm optimistic," talking about Calvin Austin's status for Sunday night. And then he added, we may have some other veterans who have some bumps and bruises and get some rest days and miss some practice. But other than that, all should play.
Wow. Okay.
I think, again, for being 6 games into this thing, that's about, you're going to have bumps and bruises. You're going to have guys who are missing some time.
Sure.
But nothing debilitating, nothing long-term, not to, your quarterback or one of those guys on defense that you would really hate to lose, or a DK Metcalf. About is optimistic, about as of a good a scenario as you can be at this point in the calendar.
And you got a couple extra days rest, and I'm sure there's some embarrassment on the defensive side of the ball too, that just festering. I would expect a great week of practice and prep that's already happened. The injury stuff is wonderful. I know we have a bunch of new listeners over the last couple of weeks. Thank you. So a guy like Killebrew wouldn't be mentioned because he's on IR, folks. You
Correct.
know, like, I mean, or any recent injuries.
I should have mentioned that as well, too. Mike Tomlin did say Miles Killebrew is out for the rest of the year.
Okay. I assumed that when it happened, but
yeah.
okay.
Unfortunate
That's a bummer,
in that regard. Again, that's not something that you want to see.
Of course.
But you are going to have those injuries, and that is one that you wish Miles Killebrew was healthy. But it is also, they have, I think, navigated this thing without those true back-breaking type. Joe Burrow's going to be out for 3 months, type
Chargers
injury.
are losing both tackles. And
Chargers losing both tackles and both running backs, in the first month of the season.
Yeah. Commanders didn't play with McLaurin or Debo.
Right. Exactly right. Exactly right.
Real quick on Austin, just wanted to comment on this because pull back curtain. I say that a lot anymore. Tuesday morning is probably 50% of Matt's stats. I always wait till after Monday Night Football because are you fourth in the league or sixth in the league?
You
it
get the
change.
full perspective.
Right. And I knew Green Bay's run defense was good, but it's really good. It's really good. And they're going to need Austin. They're going to have to throw the ball and maybe throw the ball down the field, So Austin would be very helpful.
Very helpful. Good performance, I think, to be feeling as good as we've felt about the Steelers' tight ends.
Yeah.
At this point as well, too. So, we will. Maybe not as much today, but certainly tomorrow we'll start turning the page plenty and previewing that big Sunday night matchup against the Green Bay Packers. Last thing that I wanted to hit on with you here, Matt, to kind of set the scene before we get to Chris Adamski in the next segment. Mike Tomlin highlighted 3 areas where he thought cost the Steelers against the Bengals.
Okay.
The first was failure to stop the run and to do so effectively.
Yeah.
Second was losing a turnover battle, -2.
-2.
When you're going on the road and playing a close game, that is a quote catalyst for losing, according to Mike Tomlin. And then he said number 3, we were highly penalized again. Way too many penalties called on us on both sides of the ball. 2 weeks in a row.
After being like the best team in the league, they've been pretty rough.
And I think in the Browns game, you could at least say, okay, it's Ron Tolbert's crew.
Yeah,
and
they
if
have
you
a
look
history.
at that scouting, the officiating, he's like his crew throws, I think, the most flags of anybody in the NFL. So maybe you can have a one-off, but then 2 starts to become a pattern.
Yeah, and I don't remember a lot of calls. Boy, the game seems like a million years ago.
It really
I don't
does.
remember a lot of calls that I thought, man, the Steelers got screwed on that
Got
one.
hosed,
Like you earned it.
Might have been a couple 50-50 calls, but that happens in the course of every game.
But they earned the high penalty numbers.
I think so too.
But
so
it's obvious Tomlin's very aware of the hidden yardage game. I mean, that's a major part of his success over the years.
Absolutely,
but he quotes it a lot.
Part of why he's been so good in those one-score games, and you can see some of the key areas going against them last Thursday and why they lost that one-score game. Joining us now to discuss everything from Tomlin Tuesday, looking back a little bit at the Bengals, maybe ahead a little bit to the Packers. It is our friend Chris Adamski, of course, covers the Steelers for the Trib, and is the co-host of the Steelers Blitz with Tom Opperman at noon every single day right here on the Steelers Audio Network as well. Buzz, thank you for taking the time as always. Let's jump right into it. Seems like fairly good news. Listen, I don't think there was a ton of good news that came from the Steelers' performance Thursday in Cincinnati, but at least sounds like they got out of Paycor Stadium relatively healthy, no major injuries, and I think even, kind of very importantly, could be getting Calvin Austin back to practice and potentially back in stadium here this week.
Yeah, Calvin, even yesterday at the facility, seemed optimistic. He seemed like he knows, defer to Coach Tomlin for any official word. And of course, as everybody heard, Tomlin did say that he's optimistic that would be he'd be able to come back this week. So it does look like that's because how many catches have wide receivers gotten besides DK Metcalf these past 2 games? If I'm off the top of my head, I believe it's 3, right? 2 from Roman Wilson and 1 from Scotty Miller. None from Skoranek, none from Keyshawn Williams. He only played 1 snap. So now, obviously, if you get tight end production like you got this past Thursday, I guess you don't need a number 2 wide receiver, which was sort of like a narrative throughout the summer here. But it would certainly be much better, especially to kind of unlock more of what's there with DK Metcalf in terms of big plays and production. If you had a viable another wide receiver on the field.
Chris, I should know this off the top of my head, and it's usually a question I just ask Dale, but the long week Do they get an extra practice like in a bye week situation? I don't think they do, right? It's just, they just treat it like a normal week of prep, right?
Yeah, it's funny because I was confused myself yesterday because we just had the
bye,
the bye 2 weeks ago, and there's another Monday, so I'm thinking the same format. But no, there was no practice yesterday. And at first, I was wondering if it was just Tomlin giving the day off, and no, it's they get this part of the CBA for Thursday night, which is different than the bye. It's been so irregular with the Dublin trip and a Thursday game and a bye week. It's finally getting a routine here. Knock on wood for next few Sundays, I guess.
Chris, there was some locker room availability, I believe, and Matt and I are obviously not in those situations in that orbit nearly as much as you are. We are maybe a little bit, during training camp and OTAs and mini camp and things like that. But one thing that kind of struck me in everything that I've seen from the players since that performance Thursday night is it seems like there is, and I don't want to make it seem like they're happy in defeat or anything like that, but it really does seem like there is optimism amongst this offense, and I think particularly the offensive line. Like, it felt like the first couple weeks of the season, anytime we'd hear Broderick Jones or Zach Frazier or Troy Fautanu or Mason McCormick, any of those guys speak, it was always a little more, I don't want to say downtrodden, but that they were trying to kind of find the answers and figure things out. Now, a few weeks later, those guys seem confident. Those guys seem excited. Those guys seem like they are gelling and improving, and they know it. Do you sense some optimism around this offense? And I think in particularly with that young offensive line that finally feels like they found some footing.
Yeah, that's a great point about the offensive line, and it's still crazy because how it feels as if we get so caught up, and it's been 6 games. So this unit's only played together, 7 games if you count the one by Fautanu last year. Actually, Dan Moore was the left tackle. So they've only played together 6 games still, and you still, to this point, have, Fautanu has 7 games NFL experience. Mason McCormick's at, 22 or 23 at this point. Broderick Jones is still, fewer than, would be less than 40 at this point. So you still have Zach Frazier's, at 22. So you still have a really inexperienced line. And that's sometimes I wonder, when you hear these, we just need time to gel, and you wonder how much that's sort of just, I don't know, coach speak or just sort of automatic. People just, you ask the question, we need time to get together. But I think it's pretty inarguable that the offensive line is better these past 2 or 3 games than it was the first 2 or 3 games. And I think you can just look at some of the numbers. No sacks the last 2 games. And I do think a big part of that, just a little bit of a tangent, is how well Aaron Rodgers is moving in the pocket and moving behind the line of scrimmage. I can't get over it. I mean, 41 years old, I don't care if he's 21 or 23 years old. I don't know if he had a reputation of being a mobile quarterback, whoever you're talking about. I'm talking about across the league. And just the fact that he is 41 years old in his 21st season and, less than 2 years removed from major lower body surgery, the way he's moving around, that helps a lot. And I think the linemen have all acknowledged that. But I do think kind of your initial point where you started that with about the mood, I think that's also part of the Rodgers effect. I think that he has, whatever it is, whether he had developed that over 21 seasons or he knows his role or just his leadership style. I mean, he can be tough, that's for sure, at certain times. But I think he knows kind of to keep things light no matter what. And after a loss, I think there's almost a tendency with him and with some leaders, a lot of leaders really, that they're kind of, keep things lighter after a loss, don't get too down, and maybe buckle down a little bit more after a win. They know and that you can't rest on your laurels. And I think there's a lot of those factors played into what you're talking about there.
So we're talking about a lot of promising things, important things, but they're all in a kind of a positive light. Injuries, offense. I'm going to go to the defense, which isn't they're going to bring the mood down a little bit after that game. 2 questions for you, and it's kind of the use of personnel, especially as badly as they played. And there's some hindsight here by me. I was shocked how few snaps Herbig played because I think he's been maybe their best defender. I mean, one of their best defenders on the field. Have you gotten any kind of feedback from anyone of why his role got reduced a little? And do you see any changes? Do we know what this safety rotation is going to be? Could Eccles challenge Slay? Where's Holcomb versus Wilson? Are you getting might they make some changes?
Yeah, the Herbig thing, Watt for a while now has been on, and he's earned it, of course, sort of beyond coaching, right? It's not the decision of the coaches. He knows when to come in and out. They let him kind of be that, monitor that himself. You see him come out. Some fans get upset about it, but like I always say, you know what? If he's one defensive player of the year, been in the top 3 how many times? You know, if that's working, you know, why? I get it, squeeze a couple extra snaps out of it or whatever, but it's one thing we know about Watt. He's a tactician. He educates himself in the game, and he feels that, or he's learned that his body's better in these situations or whatever. So that would be the one aspect of Herbig. Now the Highsmith thing, playing, it is. I don't believe they went into it thinking, well, we're going to play Herbig 37%. They probably thought higher, and it's just sort of, you know, those things, they heat a moment, get away from you, and maybe Highsmith is out there, and we've certainly learned as a collective media not to ask Mike Tomlin about it, because he always gives the same answer and just says it's like, oh, his game flow. And sometimes there's truth to that. I don't know how much it was in this past game, because, I mean, the Bengals threw the ball a lot, so I don't know. He was trying to kind of say that it was the run game. They ran better than everybody thought, that's for sure, which is a whole other issue. But so I would, if I had to, you know, anticipate further, I think there was kind of like a hiccup or something, but it'd be more to what people want to see and what Herbig's earned, I think, going forward. And yeah, I mean, as you like, I will be fascinated to see how much, because later in that game, it was more and more Eccles and less Slay, and, you know, kind of for good reason, I guess. So I do wonder, especially what Slay has accomplished in this league, and his, you know, Super Bowl champion, and Defensive Player of the Year, you know, all that stuff that he has. And having 14 seasons or whatever, 13 seasons, you know, that gets kind of awkward there. And, you know, they'll never make a full change to that. But, I mean, they liked Brandon. Remember, they brought Brandon Eccles. If it wasn't for kind of what happened in late June, becoming available, getting Jalen Ramsey, they certainly didn't plan on that or anticipate that or bank on that. So Eccles was supposed to play a significant role in this year's defense. And they had a bunch of injuries those first few weeks, so he was still out there a lot. But now that everybody's back, I think they wanted to get Eccles out there. So whether you see it series by series, or I imagine maybe matchup by matchup, yeah, I definitely think that Eccles will kind of, you know, eat into the Slay's playing, and we won't see Slay out there 100% of the snaps. I think we did the first maybe weeks 2 and 3 around that time.
What about Peppers versus Clark versus Thornhill? I'm kind of having a hard time, and maybe you don't know the answer either. I'd be shocked if anyone outside the organization does. I don't quite understand when they use each guy, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, you would think, you know, at the top of your head, or the very simple view of it, or, you know, you might put Clark might be more against the run. You know, you might do things like that, but it hasn't really seemed to play out that way. And then you even go with Clark was a healthy scratch 2 weeks ago, and he played a lot more than after that. I thought, okay, I want everybody's healthy again. And in the interim, since they signed Clark and since people started getting hurt, they bring on Peppers, and maybe Clark's kind of the odd man out here from here forward.
Yeah, I thought Peppers went past Clark, and then maybe he didn't. You know.
Yeah. And the Peppers usage has been back, and I'm sure that's obviously some degree of game plan and whatever the matchups are or whatever, and then maybe that'll continue. And that is, I guess, the luxury or one of the benefits they have. All this deep secondary, all these guys we mentioned, we thought 3 of them they acquired after June 30th in this off season, and then Slay was early in that. Eccles was. So when you bring in all these guys, part of the benefit is, as long as everybody's on board, is that you can use some that you at different times and use it better. Now, of course, the trick in that is knowing when it's best to deploy each of them so far, and certainly judging by the yardage given up in this last game, they probably want to modify that a little bit going forward.
Chris Adamski with us here on The Drive. Chris, kind of sticking with that conversation of you know, usage in the secondary. Same church, different pew. We saw a ton of Pat Freiermuth Thursday night in Cincinnati. We had been talking about his lack of usage ever since the Steelers went over to Croke Park in Dublin. That kind of did a 180 where he was a massive focal point of the offense Thursday night. Is that just because that's what Pat Freiermuth does? He kills the Bengals?
Bengal killer, yeah.
Or is that kind of another layer of this element that maybe is finally unlocked, another layer of this offense, that you think is finally unlocked going forward?
Yeah, I thought it was interesting, and it was a false start, so it didn't count. It didn't even register as a no play, but they threw to him in the very second snap, and I thought that was sort of an acknowledgement of, hey, we love you, Pat. You're still part of all this. We know the last couple of games for a variety of reasons, and it wasn't intentional. We're not trying to freeze you out or replace you or make you obsolete or anything. I think that was maybe part of that. And yeah, this whole Bengals thing, I mean, the personnel now on the Bengals defense from 2 or 3 years ago, there isn't much. I mean, there's some overlap, of course, but it's not as if it's the same exact defense or anything. So whatever it is, whether it's psychological at this point, I don't know. But I certainly think come November 16th in the rematch, there'll be a lot of Pat Pryor moves. Keep going to it till it doesn't work, right, in that sense. But, yeah, it's you can't ignore Darnell Washington and kind of the strides he's made. Well, I mean, I guess strides wouldn't be the right way to put it, blocking, but the more the trust and of course the jumbo package and everything they've used and the deployment with that and the running game. Again, it's not a complete cause and effect or correlation, but it kind of coincides. They started using Darnell Washington a lot more, and the run game got a lot better. So there's some correlation there, that's for sure, that you're going to keep using him. And Jonnu, of course, is brought in highly and paid and was a Pro Bowler last year. He's going to so. Yeah, and then Austin coming back, of course, probably siphons, or definitely to a point, siphon snaps away from the tight end. So I would imagine over the next, 11 games left? Yeah, 11 games left, that there'll probably still be another couple where he's way down there like he was. He's left, maybe doesn't get a catch or something, and then a couple other games where he's the tight end one. So it's just kind of where they're at, and it's similar to the secondary too, like we talked about, where it's, it's a luxury in some sense. If you think you have some sort of matchup, it's a little different with tight end. I don't know what you could exploit per se, maybe, but against a team or whatever it is, that you can use this guy more this week and that guy more that week and put yourself in best position for success.
So they've had so many big name additions, and I know we're deeper in the season for this conversation: Rodgers, Metcalf, Ramsey, etc. I feel like the first round pick doesn't get discussed as much as most years. Yeah. And he's played well. I have no reason to doubt him. But do you get the impression from the organization that they're very happy with Derek Harmon?
Yeah, it's crazy because there's been.
It is crazy.
These last couple of years, and just in terms of the guys who have been, and of course you have players Watt and future Hall of Famers, and probably Ramsey's a future Hall of Famer and all that. And so I think that's part of it. Part of it is too that just the nature of generally defensive tackles aren't going to have the gaudy numbers or the, generally, all right, they're not going to have, some of them might, I guess, if you're Hall of Fame level, if you're going to be Aaron Donald, I suppose, you can expect them to get 20 sacks or whatever, but not going to do that. But yeah, I don't think there's, again, this last week notwithstanding, I was going to say, when Harmon came back into the lineup, the arrow pointed up on the run defense, and I think that wasn't a coincidence either. So yeah, I don't sense any sort of, dissatisfaction with him on any level or anything like that. So I think he's been good. This last game, I guess I don't have. I definitely, because I wrote about him. Talk about bad timing, right? And there's a thing called newspaper. You're familiar with the newspaper, guys? It's like we still have to actually account for that. So there's an early edition on these late games, so I have to write a story. So anyway, I post a story that gets in the fine readers of Tarentum or Greensburg or whatever. We're reading about how the Steelers' run defense is pointing up, and Derek Harmon's a big reason why. Probably the night before thinking like, I just watched Chase Brown run for like 150 yards against them. But that happens sometimes, I guess, right?
That it does. That it certainly does. And last one I've got for you, Buzz. Just a massive early season game coming up here for the Steelers. I think, especially in the backdrop of what happened Thursday night. Hey, if you're 5-1 and you drop one to the Packers and fall to 5-2, it's another NFC loss. You're still undefeated in the AFC. Not the end of the world. If you fall to the Packers on Sunday night, now you're 4-3 and only one game above 500, and you've got the Colts coming to town the following week. It is very much a kind of crossroads. Which way is the narrative going to go with the rest of this team's season on Sunday night? This feels like it is just October, still October. It's not even Halloween yet, but this feels like a pretty big kind of a heat check, temperature check, gut check type game for the Steelers at home Sunday night at Acrisure Stadium.
Yeah, and you hate to look back or whatever, and it's the nature of the league, and there's one possession games everywhere and all that, of course. But it was so much, man. They're right there to be 5-1. and then you can kind of afford a mulligan or a slip up or even a little mini losing streak here or something, I mean, the division would be, all but wrapped up, and you could really go through this 3-game gauntlet here, 3 pretty good teams, playoff caliber teams, and think, okay, well, whatever. If we just go 1-2 even, we're still sitting here at 6-3 and have a multiple game lead in our division. And all of a sudden now it's not out of the question that the Bengals game could be for first place here in 3.5 weeks when the Bengals come to Pittsburgh. Because the Bengals go, they have the Jets. And they have another team that I don't in front of me that isn't that good. And the Steelers got 3 games that even if they play well, right, they go out and play a real good game against the Packers or the Colts and still lose. And all of a sudden, then all of a sudden the season starts to where you look so promising. But hey, that's in the past. And yeah, and I heard Tim Benn say this filling in for Mark yesterday, and it made a lot of sense to me. Like this does feel like a game the Steelers win if you talk prime time against an NFC team after a loss. There's sort of some. It seems like anytime there gets like the negative ball rolling in the middle of the season like this, they usually bounce back with a win, and so they'll probably be they're an underdog. I think I don't even know, but I assume they're an underdog. So there's sometimes these are the games the Steelers do win. But yeah, you're right. It's not only just this game. It's more that I look ahead to the next 2 games after that. All of a sudden And man, like I said, you could play a good game against the Colts and to an extent the Chargers too, and still lose. And all of a sudden you're really trying to. And all of a sudden you got a hole you got to start digging out of. So it's getting the win after losing the division game like you did is big, especially for just for being week 8 in the actual season.
Well said. 3.5 points. By the way, the Packers open as favorites.
Wow.
Sunday Night Football at Acrisure Stadium. Yeah. Against Aaron Rodgers, his old team coming to town. 3.5 is the opening number. Chris Adamski has been our guest here on this Tuesday. Of course, check out all his work and coverage in the Trib. Listen to him and Tom.
That's a newspaper
noon.
I hear. Yeah.
That is. That's one of those. That's one of those things.
It's like a tree. I have to tell my kids about it. It's like a tree that they cut really, really thin, and it's stuff called ink. It's ink. It's like colored, and it goes on. It's not on. Wait, they're like, it's not on your phone. No, it's not on your phone. No. Wait, why can't I put my finger on it and move the words down? No, it doesn't work that way.
You fold it up funny. Yeah, right.
That's like you guys will.
Yeah.
I've got the from the 2 Super Bowls and the 3 Stanley Cups that the Penguins and the Steelers have won in my lifetime. I've got all the front pages of the newspapers, like in frames down in my basement, and I can't wait till one day my daughters are 4 and 2 that they come downstairs and they're like, Daddy, what are those things?
What are those?
With Ben Roethlisberger and Sidney Crosby hanging on the wall. What are those things there? What is that? A newspaper? What the heck is that?
They try to take their 2 fingers and try to make it bigger. Like, I want to see Ben's face bigger.
Right.
Try to,
like hold down and click save image here. Where is that, Dad? Chris Adamski, all his work in the Trib, him and Tom at noon on the Steelers Blitz on the Steelers Audio Network every single day. Buzz, thanks for the time, man.
The second best Mars-Lebo combination on SNR.
That's right.
That's right. Oh, wow. I didn't make that connection. Wow. Look at this.
During the offseason, we're going to have some type of charity Royal Rumble here between the programs.
Tag team battle.
That's right. Buzz, thanks for the time, man. We'll talk to you soon.
All right. Take care anytime, guys.
There he goes. Chris Adamski. That's right. We got two of our shows here have Lebo and Mars co-hosts. You got to love it. Good stuff from Buzz as always. Talk a little college football.
Yeah.
Particularly with black and gold glasses on, keeping an eye on what seems like a potentially loaded quarterback class coming up in this year's draft. Mm-hmm. Of course, a draft that'll be on the North Shore of Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, just a couple miles from where we are right now. And, of course, one where the Steelers could absolutely be a player in the first round to take a quarterback. Whether Aaron Rodgers comes back or not, I think that there is a great chance that the Steelers could draft a quarterback in the first round. You had the brilliant idea to kind of preface that, of going around the league and talking about the teams that right now will be in the market for a quarterback as well.
Yes.
And how many of those will be in a more advantageous draft position than the Steelers.
Yeah, and the players coming out look strong, but it's ever-changing. Like, people weren't talking about Moore that much before.
And everyone was talking about Aller and Klubnik, and now no one's talking about them.
And this market changes very quickly, too. So I think the bad news is I think there's more teams than originally suspected, Yes. So how I often like to do these exercises is, like, it's just how my mind works. I just go division by division in my head so I don't miss any teams. yes, no, maybe. Just basically go that route. So I'm going to mention all 32 teams.
Let's do it.
Buffalo is a no.
I was going to say, let's start in the AFC
Some are
East.
that quick. Yeah. Buffalo's a no.
And the Patriots are a no.
Patriots are 100% a no. So we should probably keep tally here.
All right,
Jets
hold on.
to me are...
I got a piece of paper right here.
Okie doke.
Let's do it.
Old school. Jets are a definite yes.
So we're going to have yes, no, maybe, or are we just doing yes, no?
Maybe yes, no, possibly, or maybe.
Let's do yes, no, maybe.
Yeah, or just yes, no.
Okay.
I don't care. Whatever you want.
So the Patriots and the Bills are both clear no's.
Clear no.
The Jets are a clear yes.
Yes. I mean, I can't imagine. Fields is kind of getting benched. I mean, I can't even imagine how that would not be the case. And they have 0 wins. So you
they're
might
going to
have
be the
choices.
first overall pick. And if they're not, maybe it's the Titans, but the Titans aren't going to take a quarterback. So, yeah.
So they're definitely in the market.
Yes.
I think the Dolphins are too.
I think the Dolphins should certainly be yes, because they're more than likely going to have a new coach and a new staff who's going to want their guy.
Yes, I think they're going to want to play differently on offense than Tua does. He's a certain type of get it out quick. But the problem, the reason that he's somewhere between a maybe and a yes is his contract is very Russell Wilson-esque.
Point.
Like with Denver. Like if they cut him, they're just going to eat a ton of cap space, and nobody's going to trade for him. So they married him a little bit, and it's going to be an ugly divorce, But he could be on the team.
Divorce,
he could have Tua in a first-round pick.
That's true.
You lose enough games, but they're a yes.
I think they're still a yes at 1-6. And again, that's the thing. Like new coaching staff, they almost always want the quarterback.
Sure,
they're going to live and die with one of their own.
And it'd be different. It's not like Vrabel inheriting May, at all.
Correct. Let's go
North.
AFC North.
Steelers, yes.
Steelers are a yes. I agree, and I think the Ravens are clearly a no.
Ravens are clearly a no. Bengals are clearly a no. Unless Burrow does something crazy like I'm not playing for you guys ever again, but I think we're at least a year away from such madness. Browns are clearly a yes.
I think they're clear. I know some people might say they just drafted 2. Don't care.
I mean, Gabriel is a lifetime backup.
They're going to have a top 5 pick and another first-rounder from the Jags.
Yes. They're clearly a yes. Maybe, again, maybe Justin Fields has an unbelievable last 8 games. Maybe Shedeur Sanders comes off the bench and lights the world on fire.
But we're doing this as we sit here on Tuesday, October 21st.
Maybe there's a new Bentley out there that the station gave me, too.
Yeah, that's right. And maybe you and I will hit the Powerball in the next week.
Right.
And we'll both, there'll be no drive.
Right, exactly.
Matt and I are going to hit the Powerball, split $1 billion and not tell anybody, and TV's just going to show up and be like, where'd they go?
Exactly.
Where's the show?
Yeah, we're in Aruba or something.
No, we'd still do the show.
I would.
Maybe. I think I would.
I'd cut down a couple of my responsibilities, but I would still talk sports or football for a living.
Yeah,
I have no doubt about that.
Same.
Anyway, South.
So hold on real quick.
Okay.
We're 8 teams in, and we've already got 4 pretty confident
That's 50%
yeses.
already.
Pretty confident yeses.
Yeah.
Maybe one of those could be a maybe, but pretty confident yeses. The South.
Indy's tough.
Indy is very tough.
I assume they extend Jones.
And I think especially, too, because they're going to be picking in the 20s.
Right.
If Indy was 1-5, it's a complete instead of 5-1, it's a completely different conversation.
He's just not under contract. So as it stands, they need one. But I can't imagine him wanting to leave.
I think I'm going to go with no.
I'm going no for
Indy.
them.
Yeah.
I'm still a no on Houston.
Yes, agreed.
Obviously a no on Tennessee, even if
agreed.
They lose every game.
Agreed.
And you still have to be a no on Lawrence.
Agreed.
Yeah, I mean,
I think that division is 4 for 4 no's.
Yes, agreed. Especially because you just gave Lawrence money too.
And the Jags don't have a first-round pick.
And they have a first-round pick too.
They're a no.
Good point.
Yeah, they're a no.
West, Chiefs are a no.
Chiefs are a no.
Chargers are a no.
Chargers are a no.
Raiders are a glaring yes.
Raiders are absolutely a yes.
And could take one with the first overall pick.
Even if they keep Geno for another year because the cap situation, still a yes.
Yes, and he'd be a great mentor like Rodgers would be or whatever. And I think Denver's a no.
Denver's a no.
Yeah.
That's another division that you like. There's
there's an influx.
Okay, between the South and the West, there's only one clear yes.
Okay.
That's a good place to be.
5?
So we're up to 5 yeses, 11 nos.
Okay.
Still not a maybe yet.
NFC East.
NFC East. Eagles are a no.
Eagles are a no. I assume the Giants are a no.
I
can't imagine ownership saying we're going to go get
I think
somebody
that's
else.
A safe assumption, too, as are the Commanders, clearly a safe assumption.
Right. Real quick on the Giants, I expect that there's a good chance they have a new coach, but I'm sure ownership's going to say, I'm hiring a coach that likes Dart.
Correct.
That'll
be part of the interview process.
That'll be part of the deal. I got to think Dak is safe, too.
I think so too.
It's a weird organization. Like, they have multiple first-round picks. That's the only hesitation is could they trade Dak to the Steelers for a second-round pick?
I was just going to say, I mean, they could. There could be some of these teams, I think, that would be very interested in Dak.
Yeah, oh, yeah.
Should be very interested in Dak the way he's playing.
Like if Stafford retires, he goes,
those
type of deals.
Perfect example. Perfect example.
Let's plug him in. But I would say no. But it's just a weird organization. He's hard. I looked into it, actually. He's hard to trade financially.
Should we do a maybe for Dallas? Or you
no,
confident with a
no.
Okay.
I mean, he's playing at a really high level. I think it'd be stupid to draft him.
I agree with you on that.
Doesn't mean they won't, but I think
so. We're at 5 yeses and 15 nos now.
All right.
Get a little bit better than the start. It's painting a better picture now.
NFC North, Love is safe.
Green Bay, no.
Bears is safe.
Chicago, no. Detroit, no.
Detroit's a no. I think we have to talk about Minnesota, though.
We do.
They have not had good quarterback play at all this year. At all. And people are starting to call for Wentz's head. There's a chance. I mean, one of the small headlines that popped up today is Brosmer might start this week.
Cool.
And they're really high on him, but he's like a lifetime backup. I mean, I just know the organization really likes him. I mean, like Will Howard, that type of dude. What if McCarthy doesn't show anything?
Then you're 2 years in and you've seen nothing.
Right. I mean, like, they'd be the perfect team to trade for Dak or, you know
that's
what I mean? Like that
example.
type of deal. But I don't think Dak's on the move. Or you try to rejuvenate Tua or, I mean.
The other thing that hurts them, too, though, is I can't see them picking much lower than the high teens.
They would have to mortgage a lot.
Yeah.
And they did that not long ago to move up for McCarthy.
Right.
He could be terrible, though, the rest of the year.
He could be. Are they a maybe? Is this our first maybe?
I would, if you have to put them one or the other, I would say no. Just because it's year 2 of a first round player
that you've barely seen.
You give them a half and half.
Maybe.
Or a maybe.
Let's do a maybe. They're our first maybe. I think that's all right.
The thing is, they're built to win.
Yes, they are.
I mean, like, they might be the perfect team to try to find the next Daniel Jones. He was there last year, coincidentally. But if you could go into next year with McCarthy and Jones, like the Colts did with Richardson and Jones. In training camp, we know who was going to win.
Sure.
But you had a lot of doubts about Richardson. Maybe they could, and that dude could rejuvenate a career. Maybe he trades for Mac Jones, or I don't know. But okay, you know what I mean.
I think it's a good maybe. I think the Vikings
they're a
are
tough
fair
conversation.
Maybe.
There's another tough conversation. Well, let's go to the South.
Into
first.
the South. Tampa Bay is a no.
Tampa's a no.
Carolina Panthers, I think, are a yes.
I think a yes, and I think
Atlanta?
Dalton's going to start this week. Dalton may end up starting the rest of the season. I think they're better with Dalton, and if that's true, they have to be a yes.
100%.
I have my Penix doubts, but too early. I think they're a no.
I think you're right. And then the Saints.
They're a yes, but Rattler's better than you think. I mean, especially because they are going to pick high.
I was just going to say, I think any team that's going to pick in the top 5, top 6, top 7 that doesn't have a surefire, at least franchise quarterback or Cam Ward, we just draft is a yes.
You have to put them in the yes column. The Saints are definitely in the yes column. They're not even in the maybe column. But I could also write a story where, see, now remember, Saints are a weird organization too. The last time the Saints used a first-round pick on a quarterback, do you know who it is?
Archie Manning?
Senior, grandfather Arch. Yeah.
That's the only Saints quarterback that came to mind that's had any type of success other than Drew Brees, and he was obviously not drafted by the Saints.
And Shuck, this year is the first time they've used a second-rounder since then.
Jeez.
So they've gone deep into the 1970s without using a pick on the first 2 rounds.
That's wild.
That's wild.
That is wild.
It's the same ownership. Maybe they're just not big on doing that.
They just don't like quarterbacks.
Or they're waiting for Arch, the grandson. I don't know.
They might be waiting a little bit longer.
I mean, again, they definitely deserve to be in the yes column.
I think so. When you're going to pick that high, too, especially.
No doubt. But I could write the story where they pick 7th. Rattler has a good season, and they pick the best defensive end in the draft. You know what I mean?
Or they get the number 2 tackle.
Right.
The
can't miss wide out or whatever. Maybe they go a different direction and say, we'll punt on it for a year. Anyway.
So that leaves
the West.
The NFC West.
Darnold's safe.
Yeah, I think the Niners are a no.
The Seahawks
are a no.
Niners and Seahawks are
Niners and Seahawks are both no's. I think the Rams are a yes.
The Rams are definitely a yes.
Because just Stafford's age and
2 first-round picks.
2 first-round picks.
Yep, 2 first-round. This could be the year to do it.
Cardinals are definitely a yes as well.
I think Kyler's getting into Tua land.
And they're going to have a new coaching staff, and we know how that works.
Yeah. I mean, ownership might not be cool with moving on from Kyler, considering the investments, and they're not the best spending organization out there. But you can't put them in the no column.
It's a little more encouraging than I thought it was going to be. 9 yeses.
I would say about 8 to 10, something like that.
9 yeses.
Okay.
22.
Including the Steelers?
I think so.
It doesn't matter.
No, wait, hold on. Because I have 9 yeses.
But did we get to 32?
22 no's and 1 maybe. Yes.
Okay, so we include the Steelers.
That would put us at 32.
9. Okay.
We did. Yes. We sure did. So there you go. So that means 8 others than the Steelers. That's actually not as many as I thought it was going to be.
Okay. I did this in the offseason. I was around 6-ish.
Oh, okay.
So I think it's gone up a little.
Yeah, I guess that is, now that you think about it, I guess that's true.
I mean, is there any other? Stafford's the only one that comes to mind that could be like the old guy retires, but we already put them in the yes.
We put them in the yes.
Like, I can't imagine like Goff hanging it up or,
no,
I mean, these guys are all still in their prime, Rodgers could, but that we're already counting for that.
No, I think you're right. Like, we might not have had the Jets as a yes before the season started. Definitely do now.
I probably didn't have Miami as a yes.
Probably didn't have Miami as a
or
yes.
Or Arizona.
Might not even have had Las Vegas as a yes.
Yeah, they would have been a definite maybe that they could wait 2 years.
Right.
You know what I mean? But you have to have an eye on it.
Interesting. Where, like, maybe the Giants have gone the opposite way with what Dart's done these last couple weeks.
Yeah.
Bears might have been a maybe heading into this season.
He was up in the air a little bit.
Maybe even after the first week or two. But
Minnesota would have been a no.
Minnesota would have been a no. Now we've got them. They were our lone maybe.
That's our lone maybe.
And I think that's fair. To have 1 maybe, I don't think that's a cop-out. We have 1 maybe.
And if I had to put them in a column, I'd say yes.
Agreed. If I had to move them.
Right.
But even if you do, it's 10 yeses and 22 no's.
Mm-hmm.
It's not a horrible picture to paint.
No, but there's not 10 first-round quarterbacks either.
There's not. There certainly is not. Despite how high many were on this class, and a lot still are, there's not going to be 10 in the first round. Maybe 6 or 7, but not 10.
Here's the dampen things a little bit more.
Uh-oh.
Subject to change, of course, but I would say I would put it, of those 10 yeses, just off the top of my head, I bet the Steelers have the worst first-round resources to move up. They're going to pick later than most of the teams mentioned.
I think that's fair.
Except for maybe the Rams, and the Rams have 2 firsts.
Except for maybe the Rams, yep.
You know what I mean? So you're going to have probably at least 6 to 8 teams in front of you. Now, the Steelers might lose the rest of that. Maybe they could lose out. That's why I said subject to change. They could win out. They could lose out. I don't know where any of these teams are going to pick. I'm just guessing. But they're going to have a lot of teams ahead of them in the quarterback market, and one near them with the Rams that has more firepower than you do.
Yeah.
Remind
me, maybe like the week of the Monday night game against the Dolphins. We'll have more time the week before that.
Yeah.
Maybe we'll revisit this exercise
like
a month or so.
Every month or 6 weeks.
Yeah.
Or
Because
at least once more, Thanksgiving time.
Give things, some another 5-6 games to
Kyler Murray might be playing great. I mean, there's a chance.
Sure.
Sure.
And
they're staying there.
Maybe like Minnesota will definitely be a yes by then.
Yeah.
Or maybe J.J. McCarthy will have a couple strong performances and they'll definitely be a no by then.
Right.
Maybe, and
we'll know more.
I don't think this is going to happen, but maybe, the clock strikes midnight for Daniel Jones and he turns back into a little bit of a pumpkin and we say the Colts or,
Right. So, like maybe they'll dip their toe in the water for somebody else. Right.
Maybe the Jackson Dart experiment
falls apart.
Goes kablammy, and all of a sudden the Giants. So there are a lot of things that could happen.
Some of these aren't out of the woods yet.
In the next 5 or 6 weeks that we will monitor at that point. Just a fun little exercise that the football dork and you and I discovered that we both like to do in our own minds, and now we'll do it on the show. If you could add one player from the Steelers' upcoming opponent, who would it be? Of course, this week it is the Green Bay Packers. And remember, you have to fit that. You have to consider everything: contract status,
injuries,
salary cap, injuries. It is not just you're turning off salary and everything on Madden, and you can add this guy to the team. You have to make it work realistically. So like Micah Parsons would be a heck of a conversation.
Yes, my rule is you can't take a quarterback. Because Steelers, I think you almost always take a quarterback.
I think that's a very good. Like, we could have the conversation of, would you take poor Jordan Love, make him sit behind Aaron Rodgers again, and then
I didn't think of that.
And then cut him loose.
You've done this before, Jordan. Just sit out for the rest of the year, and we got a spot for you.
Don't worry,
after the
time's
season.
yours next year, buddy.
But then this one, and you mentioned Parsons, is almost like the Browns, where you just take the superstar player, even if it's not at a position. I don't care if he's expensive; he's $50 million a year, blah blah blah. But what would be an interesting conversation is if you broke the rules for this team and said, would you take Love or Parsons? I think you take the quarterback.
Yes.
Because he's a quarterback,
because
and
he's
I like him a lot
quarterback,
too.
and I like him, and he's still what? I mean, only like 27 years old, something like that.
And this year aside, it's a need much more than an edge rusher is, for
100%.
sure. It's not like the
Even
cupboard's
if you
bare
were
at
to pluck
edge
him off
rusher.
the Packers right now and put him on the bench until minicamp and OTAs in May.
Right,
Like,
exactly. Right,
still
right.
a smart football decision.
And you trade Mason Rudolph for a 5th-round pick, or
Yes.
whatever. Whatever.
Yes.
I mean, that part's inconsequential. It's Parsons if quarterbacks are illegal. But sometimes I think when we do this, kind of like the Myles Garrett conversation, the low-hanging fruit's too low. You know, like if you really want to talk through it and nerd out.
It's like you should go through, all right, who's the highest ranked Madden player on each roster? They're out of the conversation.
Right. Like if we're doing the Vikings, yeah, it's Justin Jefferson. If
Right.
we skip the Bengals, of course it's Jamar Chase. But
it's almost more fun of like, take the obvious answer
right,
out.
maybe
like
you'd
said.
have taken like Mims or Turner last week.
Which
you know
is
what
funny
I mean?
because like Zach Tom is an interesting one for me for the Packers.
Their linemen are interesting.
They've got a good right tackle and a good center, and I'm good on Elgin Jenkins because obviously I've got a lot of faith in Zach Frazier, but
and Jenkins could play guard for you.
That's true. That's a good point.
But this team,
I might go with one of those offensive linemen.
Green Bay's interesting. I'm going to take Parsons out of the mix. He's too good. Their offensive line, I give them credit because they are so good at taking, like no other team in the league does this since like Munchak. Take mid-round picks and turn them into starters. And I don't think they have a star on their offensive line. I would say those are their best 2 guys. But the sum of the parts of their offensive line is greater. No, the whole is greater than – I get that wrong every time. The whole is greater than the sum of the parts with the Green Bay line every year. It's not just like we got Baselli and Munoz, just stars. Their 5 is always the best 5, and they work really, really well together. So – who else is in the conversation?
There's a very interesting – well, Josh Jacobs, I think, is in the conversation. As much as we like Jalen Warren.
What a 2-headed backfield that would be.
What a 2-headed backfield that would be.
Yes. He has so much wear and tear on his body.
He does.
He plays really, really hard.
That would almost feel like –
I don't care about the contract.
That would almost feel like a rental for the rest of this year, maybe next year.
This year, next year.
Xavier McKinney's a really interesting one to me.
Okay, I like McKinney.
Him and – Deshaun Elliott are similar parts.
That's the thing is he's like a little more strong than I want.
If they're a pair of shoes, they're both a left-footed shoe.
Yeah.
But
they're nice shoes.
I'd be very intrigued to see if I could get those 2 to work out at a safety position, and then hopefully you'd really feel settled in your secondary.
And he would go a long way because he is highly versatile. I mean, he'd be a glue guy too. He could fill in a lot of gaps for you. He wouldn't be a Minka replacement though. To your point, he's a left-footed.
No.
He's
more
a left
strong than he is free. If him and Deshaun Elliott are both left shoes or right gloves or whatever.
Yeah, I think it's a good way of putting it. But he's also not cheap. I mean, for safety money, he's at the top of the market. Do you want to have that much tied in the safety market?
Very good point.
It's not the end of the world. You could get him in under the cap. It's not like a Parsons thing where you have to rearrange your cap for a $45, $50 million player. Other interesting names, and if we keep doing this week after week, you're going to notice young guys on rookie contracts to me are gold, Jerry.
Gold.
Yes.
I love gold.
And speaking of gold, Matthew Golden would be in the conversation.
Oh, I see what you did there. That's a nice transition.
I mean, you get a lot of years on that dude.
You get a young, ascending wide receiver.
You get the rest of the season, which I don't know if he's great or not. And I had mixed feelings about him coming out of Texas. But you would get 4.5 cost-controlled years for what you think is a heck of a number 2 that doesn't hurt your cap at all. So he would definitely be the wide receiver I would take. And wide receiver is clearly a need. I mean, he'd start right away, of course, and you would think that'd go without saying. If you're going to pluck someone from another team, he's going to start for you. But he would be a strong consideration just because of all the finances and age of it are really, really exciting.
That's why Zach Tom is so appealing to me as well, too.
I think he's up after this year, though.
He is, but he's just 26 years
Everybody
old.
say there's a lot of football
Yeah,
ahead
I
of
mean,
him.
you'd have to. Like, I think Golden's a great
I also
shout
think
by
Tom's
you,
right tackle
but
only.
he is right tackle only.
Yeah. Which means you got to shuffle.
Elgton Jenkins would be another one.
Interesting.
I'll move him. I'll move him to guard, and then I'll start to feel. Yeah.
Now, a lot of people thought Tom's future was a guard because he was a 6'4", short arm guy that. We'll start. I mean, the typical. We'll talk about this so much in draft season.
We'll start him at tackle,
but he'll
move him
probably
in.
go into guard.
Yeah.
Well, he never left tackle because he got over. He was fine.
Yes,
but maybe he'd be even better at guard. But I don't love the idea of plucking a guy and like I got to move Faltanu or I got to move him or you know what I mean. But it's a nice problem to have.
It certainly is. I
have two other names.
I'd be,
Go ahead.
Yeah, I was just going to say it would be very hard for me to pass on one of those offensive linemen because they're both in their 20s.
And those guys just don't grow on trees.
And they just don't grow on trees.
Right. You just make it work.
Yeah.
If Troy has to go to the left side, you don't pick up Roderick's, okay. I know we moved you around a lot, but so be it, make it work.
And you know what? If you lose a tackle in free agency who goes and makes some money, you're going to get a nice comp pick from him as well, too.
Tom has a strong case. The last two I bring out is just because I adore Tucker Kraft.
I knew you were going to bring him up at some point. That's another, do you really need another tight end? But
of course you don't.
He's a great player.
I mean, if you would grab Micah Parsons, I would trade Highsmith the next day or, and I'm not saying you have to trade Highsmith, but I mean, you would if you had Micah Parsons. You trade somebody.
Yes.
I would trade Freiermuth the next day or Jonnu the next day if you had Kraft. But I adore Kraft. He's a two-way, nasty.
You were singing his praises before the season even started.
Yeah, he's on all my fantasy teams. I bought him
power
super
rankings.
low. Yeah. Elite after the catch. Like if you look at Matt's stats this week, it's like, whoa, his after the catch stuff. How about this? The two best pass catchers in the league right now at after the catch yardage per reception are DK Metcalf, Tucker Kraft.
Wow.
Yeah. That's in that first section.
Let's get both of those guys on the same team.
You're right. Other name I'll throw out there, not a need, but I think he might be the league's next great linebacker is Edgerrin Cooper.
Edgerrin Cooper's a good one to mention.
If someone's going to be the next Fred Warner floating around, it might be
They've
him.
got some of those young guys, too, that you would be
cheap.
intrigued because they're cheap, they're young, and where they could be a year from now.
Superstar athlete,
Yeah.
super long, but he is an off-the-ball killer.
It is funny, though. A lot of their positions of strength line up with the Steelers' positions
Yeah,
of
that's
strength.
why, like, Golden's kind of
Yeah.
appealing, but he's not their best player,
Right.
and he's a little unproven,
Right. Interesting conversation. Hey, it's a regular season game in October.
Right.
Okay, there's still half the season to go. A lot of different things at play here, but I think about as big of a game as you can get this time of year. Two storied franchises, Aaron Rodgers storyline, and, a Green Bay team that is trying to keep pace with the Lions and stay atop of their division, a Steelers team trying to stay atop of their division and kind of wash out that bad taste of their mouth from last Thursday in Cincinnati. This one is going to do a massive number in ratings, and it's going to be, I think, a real kind of crossroads. What's the you can almost write the narrative for both teams going into this one if they win or they lose. What everyone's going to say if they win, what everyone's going to say if they lose.
Standalone games always mean more, too, just in the public perception.
The whole country is going to be watching. Yeah. This is one of those ones that when the schedule came out, everyone looked at it and circled it and highlighted it, and this is going to be a lot of fun.
Mm-hmm.
And it is going to be a lot of fun, and again, about as big as you can get for a regular season game in October.
Yeah, and then they spruce it up with these jerseys, these throwback jerseys. I saw them for the first time today. I was down at the facility. They're pretty crazy. Every eye in America is going to be on it, even more than most Sunday night games. And they're not the best two teams in the league, but they're about the two best fan bases in the league.
Right.
And they're two pretty darn good teams that are storied and a lot of trophies and so many Hall of Famers. And one of them's now working for this team as opposed to that team. Obviously, the Rodgers storyline is massive. Now, it's an NFC game, so the math doesn't kill the other team that bad.
Doesn't affect your tiebreakers or anything like that.
But Green Bay started the season, first two games, blowing people's doors off. And now they're still good, but they're squeaking by. Where are they at as a team? Steelers, on the other hand, are coming off an embarrassing loss. At least on one side of the ball was embarrassing. And I bet everyone that was walking around the facility, I had that feeling. I didn't chat with Cam Hayward or TJ Watt. Knows exactly what they put on tape for the world to see, and it's not good enough at all. And I expect a long week, a lot of that to get corrected.
I do too. And that is obviously what we're all waiting for, kind of first and foremost, as it relates to, again, another offense that is going to challenge you. It's not the same type of challenge as Cincinnati. It's a younger quarterback, not a veteran quarterback. They don't have this superstar brand names like Jamar Chase and T. Higgins. But this is still a Packers offense that has a lot of different ways to give it to you.
It does.
Talented young receivers, talented young tight ends, talented running back, up-and-coming quarterback. As you talked about yesterday, one of, I think, the more underrated offensive lines.
Yeah, as a unit
in the National Football League. This is
really good offensive coach, too. Really
one
good
of the
coach.
Yes, he's not mentioned in the same breath as the McVays and the Shanahans, but maybe he should be.
I know he's won a lot of games since he went to Green Bay, and it used to be it's like, oh, he's riding Rodgers' coattails, anyone could do that. I'm like, he's gone through a lot of different things.
And then Jordan Love came in, and they continued to go to the playoffs and win double-digit games. And,
very bright, very good coach,
and all those different things. So let's kind of start there. It's a big week for the Steelers defense, looking to get right after that performance in Cincinnati against a talented Packers offense.
Yeah.
Matt, some of the Matt stats numbers I want to run past you here. This one pretty glaring as it relates to the Steelers defense. They are surrendering an average of 38.3 yards per drive. That is
one of my favorites. Well, one of my least favorites from a Steelers perspective.
Depending on how you look at it, right?
Telling how the season's going.
That's the worst in the National Football League.
Last
32 out of 32 teams.
How many yards allowed per drive?
They're also on the field for over 7 plays per drive, 7.2 plays per drive on average. That's 31st out of 32 teams. Only the Miami Dolphins are worse. Paint those pictures for us and why those are both terrible signs, terrible indicators.
Yeah, and I put some of that stuff on Twitter, and I forget. Someone smart wrote back and be like, this defense is all splashed and get gashed. I'm like, it's pretty good. Like when they're causing splash, they're
one of the best
game changing.
In the league. Yep.
And it just so happens, and this is not an accident, and the Steelers know this, they're the best defense in the league, in my opinion, at creating splash through pass rush, through forced fumbles, batted passes at the line of scrimmage, all those things. And this last week, we didn't see any splash, sacks, turnovers, that type of thing. And the gashing was happening over and over and over. That's not okay. It's not a great way to live. The splash is wonderful, and I think the splash will be there way more often than not. Don't get me wrong. But you can't be on the field for that many yards per drive and that many plays per drive.
Absolutely not.
I mean, I keep going back to time of possession as the what you go to the doctor for. Man, our time of possession is really bad, Doc. What is it? It's getting to the point now where it's pretty clear that it's the defense. I mean, it used to be, it's a group thing. The Steelers don't run the ball very well. Too many 3-and-outs.
Yeah, like after the Patriots game, right? It was easy to point to. The offense went 6 straight drives, either 3-and-out or the Robert Spillane interception.
Yeah.
That's
great
easy.
Example.
Just a couple games into the season, boom, it's right in front of you here on the table. There's what's ailing you. But you're right. I think as this thing has evolved and we've gotten more and more data points, it's
a defense on the field, and it's self-inflicted.
Absolutely, particularly on the back of these last few games, Matt, where the Steelers have been running the football much more effectively.
Right, that's the thing.
That elongates the drives for the offense, keeps your defense on the sideline, keeps that time of possession typically in your favor, and that just hasn't been the case. And so you're right, as you're the doctor and you're kind of, what the symptoms are, but you're trying to diagnose the issue.
Right.
I think it's becoming harder and harder to ignore that it is. Listen, I'm not saying the offense is completely perfect in this regard.
No, of course not.
But
none are, but
that it's an issue that has primarily at the feet of the defense.
Yeah, and most recently it's because they're not stopping the run well enough, and the short passing game. It's a lot of, the Bengal game is so fresh on your mind, but there were a lot of first reads where it was just Flacco sees the first guy open, boom,
2.2 seconds, 2.3 seconds.
Yeah, exactly. Off coverage, chase, give him the ball. His average depth of target was really short for a great wide receiver, but it didn't matter. He's still getting 6. He's adding to those yards per drive, eating, the clock's ticking. And this team you're playing isn't a great time of possession team, which surprises me a little because their D is really good. Their run defense is the best in the league, and they run the ball a lot. They're a high percentage run team. But they're also big game hunters. They like to go, and Love always will be. I mean, he likes to go down the field. I mean, he'll probably take, I know he'll take some shots. But I think it all starts, and I feel like I'm just like regurgitating Tomlin right now, but you got to start with Josh Jacobs. Yeah, I mean, that's where it starts. I mean, if he is gashing you for, you go in the half and he's got 85 yards and he's averaging 6-7 yards a carry, put 11 in the box. Yeah, I mean, like, you just can't accept that fate.
You spend a lot of time around the team, similar to myself, in OTAs, mini camp, training camp settings, teaching periods.
Yeah.
Those periods are different than the practices that they're doing throughout the week. You have laid this out a million times. There was so much less time during the week than people think because you're preparing for Josh Jacobs and Jordan Love and how do we stop these guys? And it's not...
Like, super quick to interrupt. Like, I was down there today. Practice was starting. You walk out. This isn't a trade secret or anything. There's somebody that has a Tucker Kraft jersey on. There's someone that has a Jacobs jersey on. Like when he goes there,
that's
we
your
pay.
Scout team.
Right.
Yep.
We pay attention to those dudes. That doesn't happen in camp or mini camp.
No.
Right.
You get more of the teachable moments in OTAs, mini camp, training camp. And one thing, Matt, I'm sure you've heard it. I've heard it at least a dozen times now in my, 8 years around the team. Defensive line coach Carl Dunbar, talking to his guys, something along the lines of, you have to earn the right to rush the passer, and that starts with stopping the run. Yeah. It's great that we have all these guys that can get sacks and get after the quarterback. We know the skill set of Watt and Highsmith and Herbig and Cam and a guy like Keanu Benton, who's had a handful of sacks over the last few weeks.
Yeah.
But you have to earn the right to get them into 2nd and 8, to get them into 3rd and 7, to get them into predictable passing situations. You have to earn the right to rush the quarterback. And that begins with stopping the run. And that was a huge issue last week. Yeah. And you cannot let that carry over into Sunday night.
So I know a lot of our listeners and a lot of fans weren't in a good mood anyways, folks, after that game. But when Tomlin was asked, and I don't remember exactly verbatim the quotes, but, what's the biggest problem? He's like, stopping the run. And there's a lot of our listeners and fans that were like, don't you see Jamar Chase catching 8,000 balls, Coach? Like, I think he does, guys. I think he's on it. I think his defensive back coaches, defensive coordinators are aware that the best receiver in the league is catching 8,000 balls. But if it wasn't for the Chase Brown stuff, the game, you probably win. You sort of conceded the Chase and Higgins stuff to some degree.
If they slice you up in the air like that, but you only give up 75 yards rushing.
Yeah, if he's averaging... What was
2.6
whatever
like
he was
that,
averaging
2.7
in every other game, but to that point, if you play the run sounder, you tackle better, and they weren't even like getting blown off the ball. Like in the Jets game, it looked like the first game of the season where everyone was tired and Cam hadn't practiced, and like they're getting pushed backwards. This was
looked a little bit like that against Seattle too.
Yes, early in the season, that happens across the league. But last week it was. There's no one aligned in the B gap, or you just flat out missed a tackle, or you're not rallying to the football with the same energy. And you can say that's a short week, or you could say, well, they've been on the field too much already this year. Maybe. I mean, I'm sure that contributed, but it doesn't make it okay, by any stretch. In this game, you have a 10-week or 10-day break where your opponent doesn't, I mean, it starts with stopping the run, and you're right. I mean, yeah, you kind of have to earn your ability to pin your ears back and go after the quarterback. Now, here's a wrinkle, though, which the Packers are good, by the way. A lot of these Matt Stat stuff are not going to really favor the Steelers. I mean, Green Bay's really good. So not only is Green Bay the best team in the league on 3rd down.
That was the next stat that I had to get to here.
I don't have the numbers, but in 3rd and long, 7 or more, they're not only the best team in the league on 3rd and long, but they're light years better than average. I mean, it's insane. So even if you do keep them, we got them in 3rd and 8 2 times in a row. They've been converting like almost 50% of the time, which is nuts.
Green Bay Packers converting 49.3% of their 3rd down attempts. That's the best in the National Football League. But get this, they are also converting a league high 48.3, so only 1% less.
Doesn't even matter what the down and distance is.
Out of 100 tries, only 1 time less on their 3rd and long. That's 7 or more yards. Conversions. The league average in those situations, 3rd and 7 or longer, is less than 24%.
Yeah.
They're doing it at over 48%. That's nearly twice as good as everybody else in the National Football League. That's crazy impressive.
That's crazy. And the good news is, I bet when we're at Christmas, they're not at 49%. It's not 1 out of 2 on third.
The Steelers aren't going to be the only team going forward that are looking for ways to stop this and slow this down.
Yeah, and it's almost unsustainable. I doubt any team in history on third and long is like at 50%. I mean, that sounds nuts to me. But still, they are doing it, and we're almost at Halloween. I mean, this isn't one game against a terrible defense. I don't have a great reason why. Now, I think part of it's because Love's aggressive and he's pushes the ball down the field.
Like you said, big game hunter.
Big game hunter. He has some improv skills. But if you notice his numbers, and I didn't put it in there because I don't like to quote pressures because I don't 100% trust him. But when he's in a clean pocket, he's one of the best quarterbacks in the league. Accuracy, whatever advanced numbers you want, or even the basic numbers. But under pressure, everyone's worse. I mean, every quarterback under pressure compared to clean pocket is going to be worse. I mean, there's been a weird year or two where like Mahomes is actually better, but that's freaky. But his gap is wider than most. It's much wider than most. As is Aaron Rodgers, by the way. But Rodgers is the least pressured quarterback in the league. People be like, oh, that's crazy. Part of it's because the ball comes out so fast.
Sure.
And they recognize it so well. But Steeler protection hasn't been as bad as people think.
No, it's been much improved, particularly since Dublin.
Yeah, and even this past game, the ball did not come out at a record speed.
Right.
So he's the least pressured quarterback in the league, and
Broderick Jones been the only one who's been getting hands on him lately.
That's a good point. So you would think, man, you're going to get more pressure on these third and longs, and I assume teams are. I mean, I could do some filtering of whatever and figure it out, and he hasn't been as good under pressure. But apparently it hasn't mattered.
Yeah, it's a great point.
Yeah.
And it's a scary point heading into this game where you just struggled to get pressure on a quarterback. Big part of that was obviously how quick Joe Flacco was getting rid of the thing, but that cannot continue for this Steelers defense on Sunday night. Absolutely,
or you're never going to get off the field.
You will never get off the field.
I'm saying you have two good plays, and then you get to 3rd and 8, and you're like, okay, we're in good shape. We're going to bring the house, and boom,
11-yard completion.
Right?
Yeah, totally. And that is, I think, one of the things. If you're kind of, writing down notes of key things to watch for the Steelers defense, those 3rd down conversion rates, particularly 3rd and long, sounds like it's towards the top of the list. Matt, this scares me as well too.
I want to say one thing too.
Go ahead.
Like when I look at a box score for the first time or whatever, and I get to 3rd downs. I'm interested in the conversion rate, sure. But I'm as interested or more interested in the denominator. How many times did you make them snap the ball on 3rd down? Offense coordinators don't want to snap the ball on 3rd down. I mean, they just don't. It's a little less true now because so many people go for it on 4th. It used to be that we have 3 downs to get a 1st down. Now teams, like the Eagles will call a run on 3rd and 7 because they know they're going for it on 4th, So, but still, making teams snap the ball over and over on 3rd down is good defense, but not against these guys.
But not against.
You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
If you could force a team into 12, 13, 14, 15 3rd downs,
right.
Great.
You good chance you won the game.
Yes.
Yeah,
but against these guys, it might not be as a direct
History's
correlation
not showing,
as you expect. Here's a big part of that too, Matt. Kind of final stat I wanted to run past you before we get to our buddy Bob Labriola in just a few minutes. We spend a lot of time talking about the kind of holy trinity of indicators to who wins a game.
Yeah.
Turnover differential, sack differential, explosive play differential. That is the holy trinity of whoever has the most success in those departments puts themselves in it's playing poker odds or blackjack odds. It doesn't necessarily mean you win every time, but you've got a much likely.
But you don't hit on 20.
Exactly. Exactly right. Exactly right. The Packers offense, 1st in the league in explosive play rate.
Again, they push the ball down the field, and even though Jacobs doesn't have a lot of yards per carry,
that's the crazy part about it.
He still can rip off and runs and hurt you.
Yes. The Steelers defense ranks 30th in explosive play rate surrendered. That to me, At least Cincinnati had to kind of paper cut you to death at times down the field.
Absolutely. They didn't kill you with explosives. Right.
You absolutely cannot allow this to be 3-play drives, 4-play drives, 6-play drives against the Packers, and they've done a very good job of that so far this season.
I mean, none of this sounds good because, boy, they have a ton of explosives. You allow a ton of explosives. We started the show with, man, you allow a lot of plays per drive. You allow a lot of yardage per drive. Well, if you're picking your poison, neither's good.
No.
You just got to play better.
Yeah.
I mean, well, how do you fix it, Matt? Well, you get off your blocks. You tackle better. You make big plays. You
sound like Dave Wannstedt.
Right.
Sound like Dave Wannstedt right there when he was. Do you remember that halftime where he said we got to run fast? He was asked at a halftime interview, "What do you got to do?" He said, "We got to run faster."
Good one.
you got to play
sometimes
better.
you just got to be better.
Sometimes
right.
you got to run faster. You got to tackle better. We just got to be better. What do you have to do? We have to run. We have to run faster out here. Is what we have to do.
Football stuff. You have to do better than you were before.
And that to me,
because this defense can. It's not like, boy, there's no good players,
here's the one thing too. If you're getting after Jordan Love and you're getting 4 or 5 sacks and you're winning that sack margin by +3, +4.
Now we're talking.
If you're winning the turnover margin by +2.
Stop you real quick because this is nuts about the Packers. There's no turnovers in Packer games. Packers have turned the ball over 3 times all year and have forced 3 turnovers all year. It's like they make a deal with the opponent. Like
we won't turn it over if you don't turn it over.
We're just not either one of us turn it over today. I'm like, okay. Well, I ain't going to cut it in this game. If there's no turnovers, that's not going to be good for the Steelers.
Because you're absolutely right. Because where I was going with that was, hey, if they outclass you in the explosive play department, but you're +2 in the turnover margin, you're +3 or 4 in the sack margin, you can make up for that.
You can be in decent shape, right? Yeah.
But if you're,
because the Steeler offense is actually pretty explosive too, which is rare to say over the years.
Exactly, and it feels like it's gotten, doesn't feel like the numbers back it up. It's gotten more explosive week by week as well too,
both through the air and on the ground.
So you can make up for giving up some explosive plays if you're not too far behind with your own offense and you're leading in the sack department, you're leading in the turnover department. But if turnovers and sacks are a stalemate, or God forbid you lose in that department once again, that's where you're really asking for trouble.
That's the thing is, like, when you talk about strategy, Love's going to be anxious to push the ball down the field. They trust their protection. They got good downfield weapons. So do you play it the opposite of how you did the Bengals, because frankly that didn't work, and say, okay, we might play more single high or blitz more or trust our secondary? And I'm sure people are like, why would you trust your secondary after what happened on Thursday? Well, you got to trust something.
Sink or swim, right?
Right. And we want Love to pat the ball for 2.9, and we know he's going to drive it down the field, and Golden might get behind you twice, but you also might hit him 8 times, and Cam tips one.
I was
you know what I mean?
Say, get your hands on a ball at the line of scrimmage, something they've done very well this season. And instead of fluttering into T. Higgins' hands, this time it flutters into Cole Holcomb's arms.
Yeah. Those explosive number stuff might get worse. They might be best in the league by a wider margin. You might be last in the league when it's all said and done. But man,
if it gets you a couple more sacks and maybe an extra turnover,
but if
that's
you're
like
stopping,
a deal you'll make with the devil.
If you're stopping the run and you're not getting paper cut to death, I think I'd rather live that way right now.
I think I would
roll
too,
the dice,
especially when you consider, again, like
at least it's aggressive.
The strengths of this Steelers defense and what they do well. And when they are at their best,
unleash the hounds.
They've surrendered a lot of yards at times.
Oh, yeah.
But they're getting sacks, they're getting turnovers, that makes up for it.
And I know people were like, this defense is the most expensive in the league. They shouldn't have that kind of yardage allowed. Agreed. Don't get me wrong. But even like Belichick, his great defenses, they allowed, yardage doesn't equal points. You lose the game by having less points in your opponent.
Then they'd slam the door shut when you get into the red zone.
Right. Or I make a big play, or I set you up for this blitz package, or okay, you not lull them to sleep and allow them to run. But you know what I'm saying? Like you don't lose the game or lose your job because of yardage. You know what I mean? The job is to win the game and have more points. It's not always yards. 100 yards doesn't turn into 5 points.
They give up a ton of yards against the Patriots. They surrendered 14 points.
Okay. Right.
Fine. You forced turnovers. You did the bend but don't break thing in the red zone. Key moments, weighty downs, possession downs was well tilted in your favor.
Yeah.
That's where this defense is at their best. And it
now,
might drive people crazy, but
and I get that.
but that's the truth. It's
and the problem though is that your time of possession starts to be a problem.
Sure.
And then one more injury pops up because you were on the field 5 minutes longer, and then two more injuries pop up, and then you can't get off the field, and then you're not getting splashed, and then it's week 12 and you're shot.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I mean, there is an attrition aspect to that too.
Absolutely. It's all a fun part of the ecosystem.
Yeah. There's no perfect way of doing it.
That we love dorking out, nerding about here. Nerding out about here. Say that 5 times fast. Nerding out about here on the drive just about every single day. I got a tweet from a guy named Joe last week who said, "Is there any chance that we can continue one of Dale's favorite traditions?" And that was when introducing Bob Labriola, you got to say the Dean of Doom, the Lord of living in his fears. Thanks for the consideration and keep up the great work, guys. I would love to honor our brother Dale whenever we have Labs on. So he is the Dean of Doom. He is the Lord of living in his fears, the great Bob Labriola, Steelers historian. Labs, thank you for taking the time, as always. And as the Steelers historian, I got to ask you, the kind of sports dork in me, Labs, every game gets you fired up. That's why we love football. There's only 17, and they're all important. But when you have two cornerstone franchises, as Aaron Rodgers would say, two of the best fan bases, two of the most, I think, respected organizations, not just in football, but in all of American sports, like the Steelers and the Packers. This one get your juices going a little bit extra?
Well, I'll tell you what. All of those things you said are true about the two franchises. And, what makes it special in my mind, though, is where both teams are right now, where both teams might have the promise to go, and what this game means to each of these teams. So, it's all of those things. Sunday night, except for it keeping me way up beyond my bedtime, an old man like I am. It's going to be fun. A home game. I think it'll be very well attended. The weather is supposed to be, nice. Certainly not a factor in keeping anyone away. And I saw some, I don't know, online somewhere, and some social media thing was pointing out that the resale on the tickets is almost Super Bowl numbers.
Wow. I guess I'm not that shocked, but wow.
Well, yeah, it's a chance. Aaron Rodgers may say, it's not a revenge game, but I don't think the ticket buying public looks at it that way. I think they see whether it's true or not, but I think it adds juice to the whole thing. All of what Wes was saying, plus what it means to the teams. Mm-hmm. In terms of this season, and also, the Rodgers-Packers thing, it's has a lot of the elements that, makes for a pretty juicy matchup. So, yeah, it should be fun on Sunday night.
I'm certainly excited about the matchup like everybody else. I want to look forward, but I think we got to go look backwards first. Labs, we've seen a lot of Steeler games in history, or the last 5 years in particular, where the defense carries the action and the offense just hobbles along, and such a one-sided performance. But it's so rare to see it the other way.
Yeah, I've said this on every hit that I've done this week, so I'll give it to you guys too. As somebody once told me, you don't need new information; you just need a different audience.
I've mastered that myself.
Used to be. As recently as last year, you're crying for 20 points from the offense to hope you have a chance to win. Mm-hmm. Now, you're scoring 31 and you're losing. So that's quite the flip there. It's something different. But if you want I know you give me the Dean of Doom thing, but I don't know. Maybe we just got to start looking at this Steelers team different. We were so, I think, initiated or whatever, used to or taught that God, you got to hope for 24 points. Mm-hmm. God, on Sunday you stop by the Basilica and light a candle please let the Steelers score a touchdown in the first quarter.
Yeah.
I mean, and now that's not even worth talking about. I mean, it just happens.
13 passing
regularly.
touchdowns in a season.
Right, yeah. I mean,
crazy stuff like that, yeah.
Right, 4 touchdown passes in a game. I remember you'd go hoping for 12 from your starting quarterback over 17 weeks, 17 games.
Right.
So, it's a little bit different, but, I mean, you can win in the NFL that way. But you can't win in the NFL, I don't care how good your offense is, if you can't stop the run any better than that.
Yeah.
And you can't stop that team's run any better than that, because it's not like, that was the, Derrick Henry and the Ravens or anything. I mean,
I'll reuse
Brown.
some of Mike Pursuita's room. Or some of his stuff he's been saying this week was, you made Chase Brown look like Jim Brown.
Yeah, I mean, the Bengals came, and here's another Pursuita. The Bengals came in with the number 32 ranked rushing offense in the NFL. You know why it wasn't 33rd? Because there's only 32 teams. I mean, they were last. Miserable,
yeah.
Chase Brown, 2.7 yards a carry coming into that Thursday night game. I don't know what that was about. I'm not savvy enough to tell you if it was just technique breakdowns or guys not trying to do too much or, scheme problems. I don't know what it was. But you cannot allow that to happen, because your defense is built upon, this is the way I see it anyway, your defense is built upon the principles of pressure on the quarterback to either create plays like sacks or force mistakes by the offense that create takeaways. But if you're not stopping the run, you can't get any pressure, because the third downs, the situations are such that getting the ball out quick is easy. And Flacco is good at that. You're not going to get to him. I just don't think you have enough time to get to him on 3rd and 2 or 3rd and 4, really 3rd and less than 5. So now you can't get to him. So you think you're going to run and chase with those guys? I mean, that's ridiculous.
Yeah.
That's training camp drills. That's 7-on-7 at training camp. No pressure on the passer. Okay, try and cover T. Higgins all over the field. Yeah, good luck with that.
Yeah.
I mean, we watched that at St. Vincent College. It doesn't work. They're just too good. That's the way the game is. So, got to stop the run, and then keep Aaron Rodgers healthy. And I think that this season could turn around. I don't. Looking ahead, the Packers are. I think they were grossly overrated after they won their opener, and everybody was putting them in the Super Bowl. I mean, they lost to the Browns, right?
Tied them, I think. Right?
No, they tied tied the Cowboys.
They
lost to the Browns, tied to the Cowboys.
No, you're right.
There you go. Okay, so the Packers are a good team. They deserve your respect, but they're not unbeatable. They're not the '62 Packers. To give you a little history, the Colts really might be the best team on the Steelers' immediate future schedule.
Yeah.
I mean, anybody afraid of the Chargers anymore?
I agree with you.
You got to play well. Certainly, you got to play well. But those teams you can win those games. And so, then you start to get into Thanksgiving with numbers in terms of your wins and losses that are keeping you very relevant in terms of your placing in the pecking order in the conference. And then you hope that, you're really starting to hone some of the phases of your game and getting better.
And I think we're definitely seeing that on offense in the run game.
Yes.
Yeah.
I agree. So there's a lot. There's enough positives there. I mean, but it just looked so bad allowing the Bengals to run the ball like that. Because I thought Flacco could be a problem. He's that kind of guy. He has a nice arm. He's veteran enough that he can be on time and accurate. and he's got some eligibles. Those two guys that's the best tandem in the NFL, if you ask me, Higgins and Chase.
Oh, yeah.
And you agree, Matt?
Yeah, I do. And we just did a wide receiver rank yesterday. We had Chase number 1.
Yeah. I mean, so, if you're not able to cut the head off the snake, and that being the quarterback in the Bengals pass offense, good luck. Good luck. I challenge any team secondary coverage. Go ahead, deal with that.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I think that's a losing proposition the majority of the time.
That's a big thing I said the day after the game, Labs, was their pass defense good enough? Of course not. Were they overmatched against Chase and Higgins? Yes. Did Flacco carve them up? Yes. But sometimes Michael Jordan scores 50, and that's just the way it is. The sin to me was the run defense.
Yeah, and I remember, just reminiscing with Dick Hoke one time, long-time Steelers assistant coach, and we were just talking about, this was at training camp, shooting the breeze and talking about coverage and stuff like that. And he said, in the 70s, 1 Mississippi, 2 Mississippi, the quarterback was on his back.
Yeah.
There were blown coverages all over the place. You never saw them. I mean, they didn't matter. It was something that on the film, Chuck would point out and complain about, yell about, but it didn't. It had no significance, had no impact, because the quarterback was on the ground or running for his life. So you got to be able to do that, and in my opinion, you got to be able to stop the run so that you can create the situations where you have an opportunity to do that.
I think that's very well said by Bob Labriola, our guest here on The Drive. Labs, we spent some time, Matt and I, on Friday in the immediate aftermath of that game in Cincinnati, and then earlier this week too, kind of doing the glass half full, glass half empty thing. And glass half empty more so with the defense. But the other side of that is, as you kind of alluded to, I think you have to be encouraged by all elements of this offense. Certainly the quarterback, Aaron Rodgers, as I think we've all discussed throughout the season.
I think the glass was 49% full.
Right. Right. Yeah. Like Labs, I use the analogy of like a presidential election. All you gotta do is win 51% and you get the nana boo boo, you're a loser, to 49%, right? Like it was kind of the same thing, whereas if the Steelers, if the defense makes a play after that Pat Freiermuth touchdown, we're all talking about the defense, but we're saying, how about that offense? I mean, they can score 33 points. They can get you out of a jam.
Maybe if Turner doesn't rip it away from Metcalf, and that's
right.
enough. You
Absolutely
know what I mean?
Right. Absolutely right. And Labs, I think we all expected that from Aaron Rodgers, and we've seen that from Aaron Rodgers, but I don't know how you can't be encouraged. It feels like real progress over the last few games, in particular from the run game, from the offensive line. And, I mean, just that performance, we would have been singing Jaylen Warren's praises like crazy over the last couple of days if the Steelers find a way to win that game.
Yeah, and, a lot of times the way I look at it is if you really want to kind of try and gauge a unit, how it's doing, I always go to the weakest link and see how that unit is doing. And you mentioned the offensive line. And I would say that was the weakest link in terms of what you were hoping would continue to develop and learn to play, as a unit. There's a lot of certainly football is the ultimate team sport, but there's a lot of close combat teamwork that goes on within an offensive line. Double team blocks, twists, passing off this and that, or holding the block so that your buddy next to you can get to it, and then you go out to the next level to get the next block, to make the running game more effective. Those kinds of things. And I think we're seeing a lot of progress from the offensive line in a lot of areas. I think the two young tackles are getting better.
Yeah,
I really, and those guys, you invested number one picks, two of your previous three number one picks, first-round picks, were on those guys. I mean, on the day they put the ball on the tee for the opener against the Jets, I think that there was, some legitimate concern about those two guys playing up to their draft status this season. And I think they're getting there, if they're not there already. So that to me is a big plus. And, hopefully that continues because, to use a Mike Tomlinism, there's more meat on that bone. Hopefully that continues to happen. Maybe the running game, maybe the Steelers running game goes into a game against a particular opponent and does to that opponent what the Bengals running game did to the Steelers last Thursday night. And that would be nice because then, you think that Joe Flacco carved up the other team. Aaron Rodgers, he won't even use Novocaine. He won't use a sedative. So, there's a lot to like, I think, about, I won't say a lot of things, but certainly some things. And, I don't want to give up my living in my fears title either. The Steelers can certainly lose any of these next, 4 or 5 games, but they can also win them all too. Mm-hmm. So, it's keeping it interesting. It is. And, I don't know. It's fun to watch. I wish more people had fun watching it than watched it to decide what they wanted to complain about.
Yeah, it's an amazing point and makes me crazy too. But I'm confident that the defense is better than we saw against the Bengals, though. I mean, and that's not saying much. That was as bad a performance as any defense in the league's going to play. But I still think this has a lot of possibilities to be an above-average defense at the minimum. And as proud as they are and as accomplished as a lot of those players are, I would be shocked if this week is not a lot cleaner.
Yeah, and especially with, I think, some of the fundamentals because, I think it's not the whole key to run defense, but a big part of run defense is, just being in the right place at the right time, as Dick LeBeau always used to say, see what you need to see and be where you need to be. I mean, a lot of it is only that because, the Bengals offensive line was, is not the 7 blocks of granite. I mean, there was no Anthony Munoz in that group either. So when you're letting a team like that run the ball like that with that caliber of a front, again, that's, you said pride. The flip of that pride is embarrassing.
Yeah.
So I would say that there should be some people on that defense, players, seasoned, proven NFL pros, guys who could be, maybe are on track for a gold jacket. I mean, look at that. I can't even imagine what that video looked like to professionals who knew what they were watching.
Yeah,
because it was frightening.
Is the right word. Yeah,
it was frightening to me just watching it on TV. A prisoner of Amazon Prime's camera angles. No, seriously. I mean, you don't get to see a lot of what you see is fairly focused. I think. You don't get a wide view of things, which I think is a way that football needs to be watched and judged, maybe critiqued or understood. So really what's going on because there's 22 guys out there every snap of the ball.
Can't see the coverages. It's hard to figure out what's going
on.
Right.
Yeah. Oh, and one last thing. You mentioned that DJ Turner interception. Maybe if DK Metcalf had held on to that, or maybe if the officials had called it the way they called that James Pierre interception.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Okay?
I hadn't thought of that, yeah.
Give it to me the same way 2 times. and then I'll believe in NFL officials not being completely inconsistent and arbitrary. But how is one of those? And again, there are enough nits to pick within the rule book and the way it's written, and the super slow motion, and the, I don't know, sometimes how that the images that creates that I don't necessarily believe are the way it happens. You know, I've always believed that replay should be watched in real time. Then tell me, was he over the line to gain? Was it a touchdown? Did he have control of the ball? Because you can slow it down with technology today, one frame. And did the ball move in the receiver's hands? Well, I'll tell you what, man. You could pretty much say yes to that to every catch, every ball ever thrown ever.
Right, exactly.
And or you can also say, so that's the arbitrary nature of it. Okay, so when is
it's
it?
It's like saying the baseball move in the guy's glove. Who cares? Was it the glove? Right,
right. You know, the Zach Frazier hold on Jaylen Warren's touchdown run. Okay, I think that happens every play. Stuff like that.
Yep.
When do you call it and when do you don't? You know, that's a heck of a thing to take a touchdown off the board, because that was a kind of a backside hold, wasn't it?
Yes.
He was through that. You know, I mean, that had no impact on that play. I didn't think. You know, I'm watching it from black and gold colored goggles though, but you know, things like that. You know, I live in my fears with that kind of stuff, too. Rant's over, fellas. I think I'm done.
No, we love it. Brother. That's a perfect mic drop to get you up out of here, Labs. He is the Dean of Doom. He is the Lord of living in his fears, and he's a regular here on The Drive. Labs, thank you so much for your time, as always, and we'll see you on Sunday.
Okay, fellas, take care.
There he goes. Great stuff from Bob Labriola, as always.
Miss Labs. Been a week or two.
Yeah, right. Yeah, it was absolutely good to get him back in here. You know, little curmudgeon-y, little optimistic, throwing some darts at the referees. That's exactly what we like from Bob. That's the Bob Labriola experience.
A little more cheerful than I expected, though, and hopeful and all that after how that last game went.
Well, that's because he was just excited to talk to us after
maybe.
a couple weeks off.
It's a 5-star matchup because we're in it.
5-star matchup. Anybody we play is a 5-star matchup because we in it.
All eyes on Sunday night. Steelers, Matt, you want to talk about a 5-star matchup? Steelers, Packers. That is a 5-star matchup right there for sure. And it is now time to dive a little bit into it, to do a little more scouting of the Packers. Matt, which side of the football you want to start on?
I don't care.
There are
Take it away.
Okay, so let's start Steelers defense versus Packers offense.
Agreed.
Because I think a lot of the storylines around it that we've discussed, the effectiveness of Green Bay's offense in most situations other than intermediate passing, the Steelers coming off of their worst performance of the season.
Without question.
Defensively. Yeah. Where are we watching? What are some of the individual matchups to keep an eye on?
I want to go down a road that we don't often do, but I did that Thursday night show with Mike and Merrill, and it showed up by watching the Packers, scouting the Packers, but Merrill took it to a new level, and I just wanted to talk about it a little bit too, because he believes that far and away the Packers are the best screen team in the league.
Interesting.
You know, that's not an aspect we attack very much, and there's not numbers to back that up or whatever, but it's a great way to slow down the rush. It's a great way to get pretty good group of athletic linemen. They're not special players, but they move well collectively in space. Their tight ends will block, dump it to Jacobs or tunnel screens or whatever, but it's just one thing I had to make sure we talked about today, since today's the last show, and Merrill brought it up last night. And like, don't be surprised if they start to slow that rush with a lot of screens and things like that too. You know,
that's a great call. And you mentioned it. Their offensive line is a great cohesive unit, and that's one of the screen game becomes much more effective when you've got 5 guys that are all on the same page. And you know, with Josh Jacobs, what he's able to do,
he's a force.
He's not I don't even want to say Christian McCaffrey, because that's such an outlier example.
He's a good receiver. He's a capable, quality receiver.
It's not like the first or second thing that you list on his scouting report, but capable is in quality are great words to use with him out of the backfield.
Yeah, and he was so critical of the Raiders when they drafted him because they never used him as a pass catcher at all. I mean, I think his first, don't quote me exactly, but I'm really close. His first 2 years with the Raiders, he played like 6 third downs. Or third and longs, I mean, like third and one, he'd be out there. But, I mean, yeah, like he was never out there even then. And he was a really good receiver at Alabama, so Green Bay tapped into it. And, again, he's not going to run wide receiver routes like McCaffrey.
Sure.
You're going to get him ball in space. He's more than capable. That's just another thing he does well. And he gets a lot of touches overall. And we probably should have even just started with him. I mean, he's the foundation of the offense, even though Jordan Love's coming along nicely. But they want to run the ball. They're a high run percentage team. He's the top 5-6 running back in the league right now that finds the end zone.
I was going to say, is he the best back they've seen all season? They've seen a couple good ones. Breece Hall's pretty good. Kenneth Walker, pretty good.
Yeah, I think the answer is yes.
Yeah.
Quinshon
Judkins.
Judkins is rocketing up the list as we speak, but it may be a little early on him to say he's better than Jacobs.
Yeah.
Jacobs finds the end zone at a remarkable rate, too. I mean, he scored the most touchdowns amongst running backs since the start of the 2024 season. I mean, he and they're not all just plunges from short. I mean, he's productive. He gets the most out of pretty much every rep, and he's gonna be a 60-minute fight.
Yeah, absolutely. And if they can get that screen game going, then all of a sudden you're kind of second guessing everything, and you're overthinking maybe at times.
There's a number on a defense, man. Like
absolutely.
I start rushing upfield, and like they keep beating me over the top, and
it's the same type of effect as an effective play-action game.
Yeah.
Like it just has you second-guessing and thinking for an extra second.
Makes those linebackers hold their water longer than they want, and then they're rushing out to the flats or whatever, taking on linemen, which they don't love. I mean, the screen game can be really potent, and it's a hard thing to get good at.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
Timing, illegal men downfield, all that kind of stuff.
Sure.
Right.
Again, that's one of those like all fingers on the fist have to be perfectly aligned, or if one guy's off their mark, it's going to be completely blown up.
I forget what analyst I was listening to. It was 5-10 years ago, but it always stuck with me. And they said, if you see a good screen team, I can promise you they're a well-coached offensive team.
Totally.
You know what I mean?
That makes a ton of sense.
Yeah, they may do other things poorly, but I bet that it's a good coaching staff on offense if they run screens effectively. Like, that adds up. Takes a lot of practice time,
Let's talk about Jordan Love, the quarterback here.
Mm-hmm.
You and I back in, I think it was training camp. We have 3-hour shows during training camp.
Sure.
Extra hour to kill. And there's practice and stuff going on. But a lot of times we also get into some bigger picture conversation.
Sure. There's not a game to reflect on.
Because we have an extra hour to kill. And while there is practice, it's not like there's games and a ton of tangible stuff for us to discuss. I remember one day, I can't remember whose list, but it was either like The Athletic or ESPN or NFL Network. One of those respected publications came out with their, I think it was top, or their quarterback rankings, like ranking every starter in the NFL.
Maybe it was Sando's quarterback tier.
Might have been Sando, somebody that we like and respect and keep an eye on their work. And I
we did this whole segment on it.
I want to say Jordan Love was like 10 or 11, if I remember.
Okay.
And I remember you saying that he's a guy that I could easily see if we do this exercise next year being close to the top 5.
Yes.
You still feeling that way with what you've seen from him through 6 games this year?
I had a handful of quarterbacks this offseason. Some will make me look good, some will make me look bad, that I thought they have a real chance to be moving up.
I think you mentioned that about C.J. Stroud.
Stroud, I thought, would get back in that neighborhood. Lawrence, which I don't feel as good about.
I don't think you gave Trevor Lawrence as much credit as Love and Stroud. I think you did say he'd
May
be better.
was one, which I feel giving one of these on that one.
May
the other
was
ones,
absolutely one. Great call by you.
But Love was definitely on the list of still young, developing players. I think careers are drastically going the right direction. And maybe I expected a smidge more out of him at the end of October, but there's a lot to like. There really is. And I definitely think that I was more right than wrong by putting him on that list, that he has positive momentum. One of the things I wasn't big on him coming out of school. It was a small school. And frankly, he made a lot of the same mistakes over and over. Like, is this guy learning from his mistakes or not? I mean, but the gifts were obviously there. And I bet if he was sitting here, he would credit Rodgers and his time for sitting behind Rodgers.
Sure.
And Rodgers learned a lot from Favre. I'm going to side note it here. I mean, the year I was with the Browns was the year Rodgers came out of college. So we didn't draft a quarterback. We drafted Braylon Edwards, but I watched Rodgers. I graded him. And he was not this freewheeling guy. I think he learned a lot about he was pretty rigid.
He was rigid.
He was
ball up by his chin.
Yeah, exactly, right. Strange
Form
system
has to
coming
be
out
perfect.
of.
Yeah.
I think he learned a lot from
right.
I think he learned a lot from Favre.
And then like one of the biggest renegade gunslingers we've ever seen in NFL history.
Right. Playmaker.
Rodgers kind of met somewhere in the middle to become the perfect balance.
Yes. And I think in a very similar way, Love isn't the player they drafted, in a positive
in a good way.
Yeah. I mean, from the LaFleur influence, the Rodgers influence, I'm sure that I don't know that he studied poorly, but I'm sure just being around Rodgers this last couple months, I'm sure the professionalism and the way Rodgers prepares definitely wore off on Love because how could it not? How could it not?
That's one of the Moats used to say that all the time.
Mm-hmm.
Like when the conversation would come up of like, is Brett Favre a good mentor? Is he going to mentor that? There's those conversations all the time when a young quarterback gets drafted by a team that already has
best buds having beers together,
right? And then Aaron Rodgers has got the microphone in front of his face, and it's like, what are you going to do for Jordan Love, this young rookie quarterback out of UCLA? You see that all across the league every time.
And some quarterbacks be like, it's not my job to mentor him, and they're right.
And that's the thing.
But that doesn't mean they don't play a ton of time or spend a ton of time together.
That's the thing that Moats would always bring up was like, even if the starter has no interest in the guy who they've drafted to take his job one day, success still leaves clues. Just by being,
how much time they sit in the quarterback meeting room, breaking down film, and
being around that guy.
Right.
He was like, there was some cantankerous stuff going on with Debo in the organization around the time.
Well documented, right?
Around the time that they drafted T.J. Watt. But
Steve Young and Joe Montana didn't like each other, but Young will be like, I learned a ton from him.
Success leaves clues.
Yeah,
because even if they're not putting their arm around you and you're my best friend and I can't wait for you to take my job one day, if you're still watching and studying how that guy prepares and handles themselves, success leaves clues.
Yeah, it's a great saying, and I'm sure especially in a quarterback room. I mean, people forget about what a positional room looks like and how many hours they spend in their position meeting rooms.
With the two other quarterbacks and the
I said there's like 5 people in there, maybe 4, that spend every waking hour that they can either in structured meetings or afterwards they stay over or whatever. And a lot of the time, if you're the backup, or waiting in the wings, of course you're breaking down the actual game footage of Rodgers in his prime. And didn't Rodgers leak it the other day? Mike mentioned this, last night, that he had a lot of good things to say about Love, a lot of good things to say about the organization. Yeah. But then under his breath, he said something like, yeah, well, I was winning back-to-back MVPs. Yeah. And Love sitting in the room watching back-to-back MVP tape every day,
Just via osmosis. He should be learning a ton.
You're crazy if you don't gain something from that. Brady doesn't have to say a word to me and I'm learning from him if I'm in the room, if I'm Jimmy G or whoever.
Not to blow smoke up your butt, Matt, but it's the truth, and I've told you this before. When I started on this job in 2018, just being at training camp for 4 weeks every day and listening to Tunch and Wolf and how they did their show, and listening to you and Dale and how you guys did your show. I was only doing a 1-hour show at that point, 1-hour solo show by myself, but just sitting around you guys, watching how you interacted, watching how you guys watch practice, what you're looking for. Like that was huge for me.
It makes a ton of sense. Right. I mean, we all had people we've learned from every step of the way, and you're crazy if you don't embrace all of that. And back to the original question, yes, Love is very much on the right path. Maybe a fun project for next year or for next week or a downtime is I thought of this. You know how my mind works in crazy ways. Who do we steal from the Bills? Who do we steal from here? What quarterbacks would you trade this year's first-round pick and next year's first-round pick? Of course, yes, Mahomes, Allen. If you're the Steelers, well, Love would be on that list. Like, that's good enough for, like.
Age, all that combined.
Because my thought process on the exercise is if, in fact, they pick 22nd and they have to give the 22nd pick and next year's first and maybe more to go get their guy, who would you be happy with in return? Like right now, if it's McCarthy with the Vikings, like I'm not doing that deal.
Sure.
Sure. There's some guys you're like, if that's a return on my investment. I'm not giving up 2
first-round picks for Trevor Lawrence right now.
Not right now. I'll take my chances and use the picks on my own, or I'll use them on a guy coming out rather than
Fernando Mendoza.
Right. But if it's Love, yeah. I mean, some are obvious. Burrow, Lamar, of course. I'll give you whatever you want.
Right.
But, who's a guy that you'd be really happy with if you invested heavily in this draft if they turned into Love qualified?
Makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, that makes a ton of sense. And hopefully it will not be one of those highlight reel type games for him, and the defense will have him frustrated.
Mm-hmm.
Let's talk about, so we talked about the
line. He's not perfect, though. I mean, he's still a work in progress, too.
Sure.
Yeah.
I mean, this is his third year as the starter.
I wonder how many starts he even has. And he came out of a small school, and, I mean, he progresses nicely, but he is not Flacco from the neck up, or anything like that.
Sure.
I bet he's played 45 games, 50 games, something like that.
Pretty close. He's played in 48. He's started 39.
Okay. So I guess he had some Rodgers mop-up duties over the years.
Yes.
Get him out there here and there.
Yes,
okay.
like 2021. I think Aaron even missed a couple games. His rookie year, he played in 6 games that season, played in 4 his second year, and then became the starter.
The starter. Okay.
So this is his 5th year in the league, but his third as the guy.
True starter.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, it adds up, yeah.
So we've talked about him. We've talked about Jacobs. We've talked about that offensive line a little bit. That just leaves the eligibles, Matt.
Yeah, they're good.
I know you love Tucker Kraft.
He's coming off his most used game, and it's not a knock on the receivers, but I think that they realize this is one of the best young tight ends in the league, and he's a do-it-all guy.
And they've got some guys at receiver, but they don't have Chase and T. Higgins.
No. I mean, it's a deep receiver room to the point where we've even thrown out before the season starts. Could the Steelers is that a team to talk to in terms of they have a surplus?
They have a surplus at wide receiver
after using a first-round pick. There are a lot of young guys. But to be honest, as it stands right now, and I don't think this is how they 100% envisioned it, but Reed is hurt. Watson's been hurt. He could be back for this one. Golden's still learning. But Dobbs has been the guy that's getting the most action. He's on the field the most. He's the most reliable. And he was often linked to the Steelers, too. Like, how about Dobbs? That's that could be the guy that the Packers move on from. He's the oldest of those young guys. Rodgers actually played with them, and they seem to have a good rapport in Dobbs' rookie year. And I often thought then, in the offseason, I'm like, yeah, that'd be fine. I'd rather be a little better than that. But he's gotten better since then. He used to be – remember – I don't know if you remember, but Matt Harmon was on with us, the wide reception perception. Yes.
He's great.
He's phenomenal. I love Matt a lot. I think he does really good work. But he has this term called the sacrificial X, which is the X receiver at the line of scrimmage basically just runs wind sprints.
Take the top off the defense.
Yeah, you're just getting cardio out there. You're sacrificing so people can make plays underneath.
Martavis Bryant.
Yeah. And Dobbs was kind of a sacrificial X for a lot of his career. Now he's doing a lot more. So he's leveled up too. So it's a good group of pass catchers.
It is. They don't have the elite names like the Vikings do, like the Bengals do. But they're strong top to bottom.
Yeah.
There's not the highest ceiling, but there's a pretty high floor with that group as well too.
And they can afford to have injuries like they're dealing with now and still be good.
They've got some young guys that it's really starting to come together for, I think, as well at the same time.
Good team speed too.
Yeah, no, absolutely. You're right. And if they get the screen game going, that becomes a bigger issue.
Yes.
They get that screen game going, you start pinching up, you start holding your water, as you call it, for an extra half second.
Safety start biting.
Those guys can get behind you. Yeah, certainly something to keep an eye on. That's an hour in the books. That's one half of 5-Star Friday.
I should mention, too, Golden ran an elite 40 time, and people probably look at him as, man, that's like one of the fastest guys in the league. I don't, and I'll be honest. Like, he ran you get 240s at the combine. Mm-hmm. He runs the first one. They give him the time, and his face was like, I think they screwed up. I've never run that fast in my life. He's like, I'm good. Yeah, I'm good. But he's fast. Don't get me wrong. But he's not like 4.2 flat fast. You know what I mean? But he can get behind you.
He's certainly one to keep an eye on Sunday night. That's one half of 5-Star Friday. We'll spin the block and focus on the Steelers offense against this Green Bay Packers defense.
We're humbled and excited to be in these 5-star matchups.
5-star matchup. Somebody leaving here with a loss. Not going to be us.
It better not be us. Matt, let's talk about the Steelers offense against this Packers defense. And, I mean, am I taking the low-hanging fruit, or do we have to start with Micah Parsons and
I think so.
Guy who really has looked like he's started to get comfortable, settle in, round into form, knock off that preseason? because he was kind of in a similar status as Cam Hayward, like didn't do much in training camp or the preseason.
Oh, no, he was banged up, right?
And then new team, new organization, moving, all that stuff.
They traded for an injured player, which doesn't happen that much. That wasn't like a crucial one, but it was a back, and like sometimes that can linger. You didn't know exactly what you're getting.
Absolutely.
They're like, sign me up anyways.
Sign me up anyways. We'll take our risks on
yeah.
this guy. And, man, really the last couple weeks, I think especially last week in Arizona, he started to look like that Micah Parsons that we all know he's capable of being.
Yeah.
You had success just a couple weeks ago against Myles Garrett, a talented pass rusher. We were joking. You kept Aaron Rodgers clean in Cincinnati. Broderick Jones was the only one to take him down. What's the challenge like this week against Micah Parsons and some other, in their own right, very talented, accomplished guys along that defensive front for Green Bay?
Yeah, and it's been a theme talking about the Packers is I think they are a well-coached unit, and their defensive coordinator isn't super well known. He's a guy named Jeff Hafley. He's in his second season. Changed things around quite a bit from how they used to play defense. Zone heavy, but they're really fundamentally sound. They've leveled up as a defense. We talked about it before. They draft defensive players in the first round at a rate higher than any team in the league. I mean, really over the last several years, Golden and Love are their only first-round picks, really out of like 12, 15 years that aren't, defensive players.
Sure.
And they're not all still there. Some of those guys have moved on or retired or whatever too. But still, they invest in their defense with youth and draft picks and speed, and therefore you have athletes. Like nice football players that aren't athletes don't go in the first round. They go in the third round,
Right.
So they have a lot of team speed, a lot of length. And, oh, by the way, they pick up Parsons, and I think you have to mention Rashawn Gary as the Highsmith to the Parsons,
Absolutely.
too. I mean, he's near the top of the league in sacks. He was the most heavily recruited player in the country when he came out of high school. Goes to Michigan. He was number one on all the lists.
Where was he from?
I don't know. I don't know. But he was the 5-star of 5 stars, could have went anywhere. And was first-round pick in his own right.
Yeah.
He had a really good year 2 years ago without Parsons, having a great year with him. So that duo is problematic. That's the difference in the Garrett conversation. We raved about, we warned people, the rest of that Browns D-line is better than you think. Well, this pair's like as good as there is in the league. I mean, they're pretty awesome.
They're Chase and T.
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly it.
Yeah.
I mean, one might be number 1 and the other one's 10 or whatever.
Lemieux and
Right? Yeah, like these guys are as good at bookends as you'll see. And that in itself is a huge challenge. And Parsons is so explosive and he's so competitive. Rarely do you see a snap where he not takes off is too strong a word, but he really plays.
He doesn't have
hard.
much of a low light tape at all.
No, he really doesn't. Plays the run. Merrill mentioned the name Lawrence Taylor, which is a big name, but it's not the craziest thing I've ever heard. And
if there's anybody who deserves to be compared to him.
Yeah, right. And I think where Merrill was going, we didn't go down the road, but my immediate thought was I urge people, because it's so fun, go to YouTube and watch any Lawrence Taylor highlights. They're awesome if you haven't, but a lot of people have seen him rush the passer. But there's a couple videos out there of just his highlights against the run, and they're awesome.
He just probably putting people in the turf.
Right. People tried to block him with like tight ends, and he's taking them and throwing them on the ground. But even better was when they ran away from him. He would just chase right parallel down the line of scrimmage, like he's chasing quarterbacks.
Like a big grizzly bear.
Yeah, and just accelerating as fast as anyone on the field. And you'll get some of that stuff from Parsons, too. So, like, you run away from him, but that doesn't mean the play's over.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So that's where it starts with them, is that defensive front, and another tough task for the Steelers' offensive line, who has
they've stepped up.
Looked improved, absolutely.
Big test for the tackles, and the tackles seem to be getting better and better.
They do, and they've had a couple solid tests this year so far.
Mm-hmm.
Seattle was a very good front. The Patriots had some guys that can hurt
that Seattle front, I hope people realize now, was no joke.
It's probably top 5 in the NFL.
Oh, yeah.
But this feels like, again, ratcheted up just a little bit of another level of a test. You combine the Sunday night under the lights, only show in town type elements as well too. We talk about narratives, right? I mentioned that to you yesterday and today. There's a lot of, you can already, if you and I were, journalist reporters instead of radio hosts, we could already write out our articles. You know what I mean? And just fill in some of the gaps. If Broderick Jones and Troy Fautanu play well, limit these guys. Aaron Rodgers doesn't get sacked. Maybe he gets sacked once, and that's it.
They're going to impact the game. I mean, the Myles Garrett impact was remarkably low. That's not going to happen again, you know. And frankly, if you played Garrett 10 times, that's probably his 1 out of 10 performance, you know.
But this is one of those, if you're able to have success, man, the praise and the attention that's going to be given to Jones and Fautanu is going to be loud on Monday, rightfully so.
Yeah. I mean, this could be a strong case for you pick up the fifth-year option.
Absolutely.
You know,
absolutely.
And I'm not expecting him to be on an island like he's Anthony Munoz against Parsons, winning time and time again. Just limit the damage.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. If they don't, though, if those guys end up wrecking the game and hitting Aaron Rodgers a handful of times, then all of a sudden it becomes the opposite storyline, right?
Yeah.
These guys are first-round picks. What's going on out here? Why aren't we seeing the results? How come they're letting these edge rushers wreck the game plan? It's a big 60 minutes for Fautanu and Broderick as well.
Yeah, and even if you just look at pressure rate, though, Steelers are one of the best in the league. Now, I've said this 1,000 times, and I think pressure rate follows this, but especially sacks is as much a quarterback stat as a protection stat.
You've been preaching that for a long time.
I mean, it just absolutely is. There's some quarterbacks that don't take sacks. There's some that just know how to get out of their hands. I mean, so
there's some that start like Josh Allen that get sacked a lot, and then they quickly learn, and they hardly get sacked.
Right. And then there's the Justin Fields. Not trying to pick on him, but he takes a ton of sacks. Caleb
Williams, you've seen the improvement.
Getting a little better.
Still not great, but getting much better than where he was last year.
So the Steelers are one of the best in the league in pressure rate, and part of it's because they don't hold the ball very long. I mean, blocking for Aaron Rodgers is easier than blocking for Lamar Jackson. It just is.
Sure.
It's a whole second longer or whatever, which is an eternity. It's like a second in the ring with Mike Tyson, you know. But they have mitigated pass rush well in the past. I mean, like when we previewed the Patriots, they were leading the league in sacks. Mm-hmm. Their pass rush didn't take over or anything, you know.
Totally. And I'm looking for more of that on Sunday night from those guys. Second level for this Green Bay defense is this
athletes.
They got athletes, so I wonder how that relates to an athlete in his own right, Jaylen Warren.
Yeah, we'll see. This pairing, I think Edgerrin Cooper's maybe the next great off the ball linebacker.
I forget where I was listening to you. Maybe it was on the preview show with
I've mentioned a couple
Mike
times this
and
week.
But I remember hearing you say that earlier this week that you're like, this guy could be by this time next year he could be a star.
He could be a star. You watch a lot of college. I mean, he was not a traditional Jack Lambert, Mike linebacker. He was kind of that overhang guy that would cover the slots at A&M, and then he blew up the combine. He's super long, and he goes in the early second round, mid-second round, and kind of is a project. Well, sometimes projects hit.
Yes, they do.
And he's starting to really put it together as an impact all over the field type of guy. And then the other dude, Quay Walker, is a typical Georgia first-round pick, measurables off the charts, you know. I'm not big on the word instinct, but instinct and recognition aren't these two's number one trait.
Great white sharks have instincts.
They hunt seals.
Human beings,
right?
They've got to learn. They've got to study. They don't just.
You just don't come out of the womb hunting running backs.
You telling me you don't pop out of the womb like Luke Kuechly or Patrick Willis?
Right. I mean, you learn how to survive as a human out of the womb. I mean, I think instincts are real. I just don't think
breathe, you got to eat.
Yeah, that type of thing. Yeah, you cry and things like that. They're out of control. But I don't think you hunt running backs or recognize zone blitzes and things of that nature. You know, whatever. I don't go on a tangent. But this linebacker group can hunt. Yeah, they can really hunt, and they cover a lot of ground, and they're well coached.
They don't force a lot of turnovers, but they do everything else
That's what's
pretty
nuts
well.
about this
It's so weird.
3 turnovers versus they've turned the ball over 3 times, and they've caused 3. There's no turnovers in the Packer game.
It's wild. I think particularly for how little that defense forces turnovers. Again, when you consider the speed and the athletes that they have on the field.
Right. That's the I mean, Love values football pretty well. Jacobs is known as a fumbler. I think it's weirder that the defense has only caused 3 than the other way around. It's all weird, but still.
All right, last piece of this. Talk to me about the Packers secondary.
It's the weakest. I would say every step of the way it gets a little weaker.
Okay. Looks like a good week for Calvin Austin to be back in the fold.
I agree. I think their corners are fine, and they benefit from those around them. They let Jari Alexander go, who was their best guy, but they couldn't count on him, and they didn't have an obvious replacement for him. I think I said earlier in the week that I know they don't have a first-round pick, but if they did, kind of bet it would be a corner. Sure. You know what I mean?
Like if you're placing a bet on what's the Packers' first-round pick here in Pittsburgh in April of 2026, you're going defensive back.
Right. Or now I guess their first pick's in the second round.
Well, so, that's true. Yeah,
right.
good
but
point.
Still.
The Cowboys have their first pick.
Safeties are good. McKinney's
yeah.
basically a star. I mean, he actually got Defensive Player of the Year votes last year, his first year, which was probably a little outkicking the coverage, but he's one of the top 5 safeties in the league, you know. But their secondary's beatable if you can protect.
It's a big opportunity. It's a big one. There's a lot of, again, I think there's a lot of brand name matchups in this one, you know, on both sides of the football for both teams, and that makes it exciting. There is a little 5-Star Friday to kind of set the stage for Sunday night. Some of the names, some of the matchups that you should be keeping an eye on. Steelers-Packers, 8:15 under the lights at Acrisure Stadium. Steelers 4-2, Packers 4-1-1. The Aaron Rodgers storyline, 2 of the most traditional, beloved, supported, respected franchises in not just football, but in the entire American sports landscape. You can go anywhere in the world and find somebody wearing Steelers gear, find somebody wearing Packers gear. I don't care where you are. Matt, the Steelers, 2.5-point home dogs. How are we feeling about this one? And
you tell me. Pick it first.
Good. Let me do this. Similar to what happened to both of us in Dublin. I think we were both. I know you were. I was going to say I don't want to speak for you, but I know you were. I was ready to pick the Vikings.
Yeah.
To win, and we both went with the scenes there in Dublin and the crowd and all that and the energy and the atmosphere. We both reversed that and went off of emotion.
Picked with my heart instead of my brain a little bit.
I've been saying for 6 weeks now, don't worry, eventually I will pick the Steelers to lose a game, but I haven't picked the Steelers to lose a game. All week
I have or not.
All week I've been telling myself, Matt, I'm going to pick the Packers to win this game. I'm going to pick the Packers to win this game. I got Steelers 24-21.
Me too. I have 24-23.
All the Aaron Rodgers stuff, all the Mike Tomlin off a Thursday night road loss with extra time to prepare, rest advantage stuff.
Rest advantage.
I think, again, if I'm just playing this game out in a vacuum, I might pick the Packers if it's on a neutral field and the Aaron Rodgers storyline isn't there and both of these teams played on Sunday, I would probably pick the Packers 24-21.
I quote it a lot, and I should quote it more. Mayor Hodge always says on these Thursday night shows, never doubt a proud professional that's been embarrassed. And for that, I'm just referring to the Steelers defense. You know, that I believe in my soul that not only are they better than that, but they're an above average defense.
Yeah.
That was the 32nd ranked defense that we saw that night. I don't think that's going to be the case. And then you give them more rest, home, all those things. I think Green Bay's better than the Steelers, but I think they win.
I think that's a good way to put it. If this game was in Lambeau, it's probably a different story. I think it totally is.
If it was week 1.
Totally a different story.
If it was next week. But, I mean, I just think that Green Bay's really good.
I do, too. I mean, they were my NFC pick. They were my pick to win the NFC before the season started.
Yeah, I picked them to go to Super Bowl after the Parsons trade.
After the Parsons trade, we both picked them to go to Super Bowl.
And they might.
On kind of our final, and they certainly could. But just, again, it feels like there's some magic. It feels like there's some, as Missy alluded to as well, too, like all the embarrassment stuff, all the Aaron Rodgers stuff, all the Mike Tomlin with extra rest stuff. Also think of those guys in the locker room, too, how much they've already adore and love Aaron Rodgers. They're all going to Penguins games together and doing all this stuff together.
Yeah. They know.
Those guys know that for Aaron, this is in all likelihood his one chance to face the Green Bay Packers in his career.
Yeah.
We got it. We got to come through for number 8, and I think they will.
Yeah, the rookie on the team that's Wednesday night at home with his buds or whatever, like, should I play Xbox or maybe I'll stick my nose in the playbook instead this week, you know, or I was going to go get a beer with my bud, you know, whatever.
Absolutely.
Like, this week I'm just going to stay in and, you know, do the right thing type of thing, you know, whatever.
Absolutely.
And learn to think of those around you think. If this was Packers Nation Radio, I might say something along the lines of, this is probably the week I'd want to play the Steelers least.
Totally. Extra rest and coming off of an embarrassing performance, at least on the defensive side.
In their building on Sunday night.
100%.
Right.
Like, this is the scenario. Extra rest off a bad loss, prime time at home.
Tomlin's history.
I'd much rather be playing the Steelers
1 o'clock
after
normally.
they beat the Patriots at 1 o'clock on a Sunday.
100%.
Yeah. 1,000,000%. So I think we're on the same page there. We will both. Oh, wait, what's your score prediction? I don't think you said
24-23.
Oh, so we're not far off.
No.
You've got a little closer one, but I've got 24-21. Hopefully, we're back here on Monday recapping a victory and here we go. We're 5-2. We're in a great spot, and you got
That'd be a nice position to be in.
Or we're going to be.
Or the sky could be falling.
It's DEFCON.
Yeah.
You're only 4-3 now, and you're staring down the barrel of another tough stretch.
I mean, we both picked them to win. I don't think the Steelers could win this game by 20, but I think they could lose it by 20.
Ooh.
I mean, I'm not trying to cover my butt, but I mean, there's a chance we come in here Monday like, oh no. That could happen.
I don't like closing down the show like that.
That's a terrible way to end a good week, wasn't it?
Somebody tell a funny joke quick
right,
so we can
right.
get out of here.
Let me tell you this story about,
It was a really good week.
You're tuned to The Drive on your 24/7 home of the Black and Gold. Steelers Nation Radio.